this afternoon in front of a capacity house in Norman, Oklahoma, Memorial Stadium. It is the opening Big 12 weekend for the Oklahoma Sooners, ranked number 19 in the nation. And here is a look at the Big 12 this week. Nebraska, what a defensive effort, scoring all 27 points in the fourth quarter. They defeat Missouri. Oklahoma State and A&M, quite a slugfest in the fourth quarter. Tonight, Iowa State or Kansas leading in that ball game in the fourth quarter. Tonight, Colorado, Texas, and K-State and Texas Tech. Hi, everybody. Ron Franklin, and welcome to Norman, Oklahoma, and a very noisy house here. It's a great day for football. Temperature in the upper 50s. The sun is shining brightly, and there are a lot of smiles here. And the reason for that, the Heisman Trophy winner, Sam Bradford, has been cleared to play. He is back, and right now, let's welcome into the stadium. Here come the 19th ranked Oklahoma Sooners.
There's only one Oklahoma.
I mentioned the smiles in the crowd today because Sam is back, and you should have heard the crowd when they announced the starting lineups today. Just a moment ago, my cohort Ed Cunningham had an opportunity to talk with the head coach, Bob Stoops, about what the regimen would be today for Sam.
What's the plan going into the ball game today?
Plan is to play Sam like we always have.
And just go as long as he needs to?
Well, sure. You know how it is. You don't know what's going to happen. So in the end, Landry's had a great week. He's had a great 3 weeks. So we have total confidence in Landry if we need to go there. But that's not something you're projecting. We're hopeful that he'll be able to handle it like he always has.
Great. Thanks, Coach.
Ed Cunningham, we both went to practice on Thursday afternoon, the last hard workout of the week, and Sam looked very good. He also looked very sharp.
And it was interesting talking about Stoops down on the field. He said the thing that convinced him was earlier in the week he had a 50-yard pass down the field that looked exactly like Sam did last year, and then didn't feel the ill effects after that. Now, you get the Heisman Trophy winner back, so what does that mean to Oklahoma? Well, it means you get a great quarterback, but the offensive line has been inconsistent. Ryan Broyles, their best receiver, gets hurt last week. What are they going to do? Everyone needs to step up their game for Oklahoma offensively to match the play of Sam Bradford.
Baylor has had their share of injuries, and particularly at quarterback. Robert Griffin, that's my biggest disappointment for the audience. For those of you who have never seen him, really an outstanding quarterback and an outstanding young man. So Griffin can't go, and they're going to have a brand new face as a signal caller.
Yeah, Blake Szymanski, who was the starter in 2007, hurt his shoulder in the game that he replaced Griffin. Not able to go, maybe able to go in an emergency situation. So Nick Florence, a freshman, gets his second start. First start last week at home against Kent State. Now we know Art Briles, as a head coach, is going to pull out all the stops offensively. Little different day, though, for Nick Florence than it was last week down in Waco.
So we're just a few moments away from the opening kickoff. A chance to see the Heisman Trophy winner of last year back in service after 3 weeks. So we are back. A little presence of wind today. There was another front on the way. In fact, we've been told that in the Panhandle, the temperature has already dropped to 38 degrees, and it is headed this way. But right now, you can see people with just light jackets on, like Coach Stoops, and the wind only 5 to 10 miles an hour really should not be that big of a factor in the first part of this ball game anyway. Marlin's kick going to be taken at the 7-yard line. This is Geddes. So with Oklahoma having won the toss and deferring, Baylor with the ball in that quarterback profile. Nick Florence, a freshman out of Garland, Texas.
It's interesting talking to Art Briles this week. Of course, Coach Briles, the head coach, also calls the offensive plays. He said he's an operator. He leaves the worrying to me, and I've got plenty to worry about with Blake Griffin out, but he leaves the worry, Robert Griffin, and leaves the worrying to me, and very calm. I think they're going to find out right now how calm he is. A nice crowd here this afternoon, and this young man, although a freshman, was on campus last fall, did not enroll, was in there for spring practice, so although a true freshman, he has been on campus for almost a year.
Well, we'll find out exactly how unflappable he is, because this is a noisy and partisan crowd. And the pass is thrown complete. Very safe pass. Get him comfortable. And it's Ernest Smith on the receiving end. Here are the impact players for the Bears of Baylor.
Well, Kendall Wright's a guy that they're going to move around and get into space. They need him to break some tackles. Middle linebacker Joe Pavelic leads the entire country in career tackles. Not the fastest guy on the field, but always seems to be in the right place at the right time. And Jay Finley, been battling a high ankle sprain, missed the last 2 ball games. They need his physical presence. He's going to try to go, and I think it's key if he can get some tough runs inside for Baylor. That's a key if he can go.
Well, right now I'm looking, and it's I think Salubi in the ball game, and this pass is caught at the 49-yard line, and that's Willie Jefferson, the freshman out of Beaumont, and he is a 6'6" target, and he won the jump ball. Watch this.
Going one-on-one against Brian Jackson. Underthrown, actually a really nice throw by the quarterback, because Jackson was over the top, so he threw it behind, and Jefferson with good vertical jump at 6 cents. Good start for Baylor.
Now Jay Finley checks back into the lineup at tailback. Number 32, junior out of Corsicana, Texas. Not too far from Waco. Art Briles, the head coach, pacing the sideline, would love to get off to a good start. And as soon as I get it out of my mouth, the first sack of the afternoon. And guess who? Jeremy Beal just collected his 7th sack of the season, and this is only game number 5.
Well, Philip Blake, the right tackle, is going to get beat by an inside move. Excellent job by Beal. And Blake, a first-year starter out of junior college, both tackles, replacing 3-year starters. Of course, Jason Smith was the number 2 pick in the NFL draft, and Dan Gay, who was a 3-year starter. And Beal is just on a tear in the last few games.
You know, and one of the things we talked about after watching video yesterday, Danny Watkins at left tackle and Philip Blake, the right tackle for the Bears, may really get a workout today, because these defensive ends are fire breathers for the Sooners, as the pass is thrown complete to get us, but there will be no gain on the play. Ed, let's talk about your game plan for the Baylor Bears.
Well, one of the things that Oklahoma has struggled with last week against Miami, go back to the game against Texas, is middle of the field passes around the linebackers. Also, screens are not going to be able to pass protect. And linebackers for Oklahoma need to flow. Last week they ran up into the line way too much, got caught up in the offensive line of Miami. They need to stay back and flow against this misdirection offense they're going to see against Baylor.
Young Nick Florence, the freshman out of Garland, Texas. Back in the pocket, throws long, and a little bit of miscommunication, although on the cut, Ernest Smith, one of the inside receivers, had gotten a little bit of a break on the defender. So with that, it's going to be kicking time, and we'll see the punting unit come on for the first time.
And one of the big losses for Oklahoma is Ryan Broyles, of course, was hurt. He's their normal punt returner.
Derek Epperson, a junior out of Southlake, Texas, will be kicking to Dominic Franks. So 1 series, 1 first down for the Bears, and they punted away, and movement in the middle of the special teams line.
Number 36 offense, 5-yard penalty, still 4th down.
Chris Francis, I believe, is the man who moved. So they will get an opportunity to try it one more time. Epperson's kick, driving spiral. He looked really good in warm-ups, and he drives Franks all the way back to the 6-yard line. Brings you back to the 5, near sideline. 20, at the 30, gets a pickup block. He's at midfield, and finally tackled at around the 42-yard line. And that is clearly a case of very good blocking on the part of OU. And also, he outkicked his coverage. It was a wonderful kick, 47 yards, but it's 49 on the return.
And you saw Coach Stoops walk over and put his arm around Dominique Franks, a young man who's had a couple of struggles this year at cornerback. Gave up a long pass against BYU, another one against Miami.
Hannah with a key block on that run. So Bradford settles in at quarterback, and a little option play to begin things. DeMarco Murray and Murray is going to take that for a gain of very close to 7 yards. Now, as we look at the quarterback profile, we may have to go quickly because Coach Wilson, the offensive coordinator, loves the hurry up.
Didn't expect the first play back to be an option, I will say that.
I was a little amazed myself.
Picked up 8 yards or 7, so not too bad.
Bradford, first pass since going to the shelf with that shoulder injury, and the ball should have been caught by DeMarco Murray, but he was hit by Joe Pavelic. As soon as the pass was thrown, or as soon as the ball got there, it's incomplete. Hurry up again. Running play near side, and Baylor says no. They closed the door for a loss of a half yard, and it's going to be a 4th down and about 4 yards for the first down. What do you do, Ed?
Chris Brown, a young man, when we look at the impact players, as Oklahoma looks like they're going to go for it. Trent Williams at left tackle needs to play better, and Jeremy Beal, we've already seen his impact. Not surprised at all that they're going for it here because you're in that tweener distance between a field goal and a punt.
So 4th and 4, they need to take it to the 31, and Bradford now is going to threw it a little bit high, had his man open, but he was throwing, as the expression goes, against the grain to Brody Etheridge, and it's going to be Baylor football on the 4th down not being made. We'll be right back. No score. Take us through it. This is the end of what happened on the last play to Bradford.
Yeah, right when we were going to break, we saw him gimping around. Watch his right foot plant, and it just looked like his knee gave in just a tiny bit there, and then they went over the sideline and were working on that leg, and Landry Jones has been warming up as if he may come in. Unbelievable turn of events for a guy who battled back from a shoulder injury that he may have tweaked his knee. This was just moments ago, working on the back of that knee of Sam Bradford.
Well, obviously, we will find out what we can as quickly as we can. Jones is no longer warming up on the sideline. Florence, nothing there, going to be sacked. Second sack of the afternoon. This time it is Austin English who will make the tackle. Gerald McCoy also came over maybe to share a half of that sack, but that's 2 in the opening going. Bradford on the sideline, and they continue to work over him.
It's weird sometimes when you go to plant, and that's a look at Landry Jones, who came in and played very well when Sam was down after that shoulder injury against BYU. The sprained
took
AC
virtually
joint.
half of the snaps on Thursday when they were doing the 2-minute drills and what have you.
And Landry Jones played very well, but of course when you have the Heisman Trophy winner, he battles his way back. Just really unfortunate for Oklahoma because that much work doesn't look good.
Quick look in. Has it complete? It'll go to the 40-yard line, and it'll bring up a 3rd down, and they will need to take it to the 45. It's Kendall Wright. Kendall with great hands, a sophomore out of Pittsburgh, Texas, and now he is shaken up. He's a speed guy. He is the man that they line up with the direct snap sometimes, which is what they're doing right now with Nick Florence. 3rd down. Now they look to the sideline, and possibly an audible.
That's Robert Griffin, who has the headset on, so he stays in tune with the game.
He normally stays in the press box. Got it complete, close to the 1st down, broken tackle. He'll have it. And for the 2nd time this afternoon, Baylor goes into Oklahoma territory. Salubi is the completion guy, and he will pick up 17 yards.
Well, it's interesting to see how much Robert Griffin has been around. Usually, an injured player does not travel with the team, but they've been talking a little bit. Robert Griffin has a micro tear of his ACL, so it's not totally torn. There's been talk he's rehabbing, which you normally do now before the surgery, but there's been a little bit of talk that maybe he'd be able to come back and play before this season is over. They're just seeing how his rehab's going to go.
Terrence Ganaway comes in at tailback, sophomore out of DeKalb, Texas, and he will get the handoff and take it straight ahead. He's a really good story. Art knew him from when he played at the University of Houston. Terrence's mom passed away, and he really just got away from football, from everything. It was a very difficult situation. He decided he wanted to play some more, so he went to Texarkana Junior College, and then Art called him up and said, hey, why don't you join us here in Waco? And he has come in to be a part of the team, and is really a fitter.
Yeah, and for Art Briles, an amazing run at the University of Houston. When he got there, they'd won 8 games in the previous 3 seasons. 4 out of the 5 years Art Briles took Houston to bowl games. Of course, Baylor has not been up to a bowl game since 1994, but Ganaway, a guy who ran for 550 yards for them in 2007 at Houston.
Well, we'll take a timeout. No score. Oklahoma and Baylor.
ESPN's College Football on ABC. Brought to you by the Ford F-150. Built Ford tough. Dr. Pepper. Drink it slow. Doctor's orders. And Verizon Wireless, America's most reliable wireless network.
Located high atop Persimmon Hill in the rolling hills of northeast Oklahoma City, the museum and beautiful gardens offer history, art, shopping, and dining experiences to guests from around the world. Ron Franklin along with Ed Cunningham, and welcome back to Norman, Oklahoma. Opening Big 12 conference game, and on the sideline Bradford continues to stand, and you notice he does not have his headgear with him, not right now. He tweaked a knee on that last series, and we're anxious to see when the offense comes back out if he is a part of it. Florence will keep it, and he'll take it to the 40. It'll be a gain of 1 and 3rd down and about 7 yards for the Bears, as Austin English just recorded his 2nd tackle of the afternoon.
Florence, a young man that gray shirted last year, which means you don't enroll in fall. Of course, they knew they had Robert Griffin, so Florence was coming in as a freshman. He's 170 pounds, needed to gain some weight. Now he's up to almost 200. So he enrolled in the winter, went through spring ball. He's a very good runner last week, 2 rushing touchdowns against Kent State. So he can turn the corner.
Ganaway back into the ball game, number 24. Pass thrown behind the intended receiver, and it's going to be a 4th down situation, as David Geddes simply could not get around quickly enough to receive that one.
And Baylor, they're going to go for it here with a 4th and 7. Again, you're at the 40-yard line. If you punt it and it goes in the end zone, you only gain 20 yards. I like this decision. Look for maybe a wide receiver screen.
Well, Florence goes under center this time. Now comes back out from under center. From the shotgun, middle, got it complete. That'll be enough for the 1st down. And again, Ernest Smith, that inside receiver, and they like that quick pass. And it's virtually impossible for the defenders to put pressure on him because it's raise up and throw.
Yeah, and the thing about Art Briles and his offense is they're going to go fast now too, it looks like, while they back out. But they do so much misdirection. Remember how great his offense was with Kevin Cobb at the University of Houston, but that's just a standard slant. You spread them out. There's only one linebacker in the middle of the field up near the line of scrimmage, so not a simple throw, but if you throw it on time and you have a receiver with his body between the defender, you pick up the 7 you need for the 1st down.
Straight up the middle, Ganaway, and he weighs 245, so they're thinking that probably, wait a minute, that was Salubi as a flag comes down. That, you know, putting some of the bigger running backs in there might help against Oklahoma. But the flag in the backfield, let's check it out.
After play, it ended. Personal foul, number 59, offense. Hands to the player's face. 15-yard penalty. Down counts. 2nd down.
Well, that's Danny Watkins, and we talked about he and Philip Blake both are from Canada. Danny is from British Columbia. He's 24 years of age. He's been a firefighter and has also played hockey. A really tough, hard-nosed guy, and that might have been a hockey reaction there that he just gave that cost him that personal foul penalty, which takes it all the way back to the 46-yard line.
Really tough penalty there. Danny Watkins, as he was finishing the block on English, his hand did go up into the face, and if it wouldn't have knocked off English's helmet, I don't think they would have called it.
And now a timeout has been called by Baylor. Still no score, and the Bears were driving until that last penalty. Well, MetLife is providing these dramatic views of Memorial Stadium and its capacity house today of the University of Oklahoma campus as well. MetLife provides coverage of major sporting events while also providing you with guarantees for the ifs in life. Here's the situation. It is second down, and because of the major penalty against the Bears, they will have to take it all the way to the Oklahoma 22-yard line to record a first down. Jay Findlay has just checked back into the lineup, number 32, as the tailback. This is the 9th play of the drive. It all started back at the 35-yard line. Quick pass. Blocker in front, and a nice job in the open field. Geddes is caught by Jeremy Beal with an ankle-high grab, and Ed, if he doesn't do it, he might have been going for a big pickup.
Great call by Art Briles. They faked a run play, but they got an offensive lineman out front. But watch as the ball is caught, Beal right on the spot. This guy is he's not off the charts with his speed, his strength, but he just has a great awareness. A former middle linebacker making a great play.
It's 265 pounds moving like that. Pass in and out of the hands of the intended receiver, and that was Kendall Wright. Glad to see him back in the lineup. We saw him limp off the field after a catch over the middle just a while ago. It was Brian Jackson on the cover.
Well, that was a wonderful throw by Nick Florence. The coverage got there right at the very end, but Kendall Wright he's still not looking 100%. Was not able to really go up and try to fight for that ball.
He also was looking back into the brightest sky, the brightest part of where you have to look this afternoon. It's become a little hazy, but it's still a pretty bright sky as a flag goes down and the punt hanging lazily and now will drift into the end zone. Let's check the marker. 43 yards on this kick.
And what everybody in this building wants to know is who the quarterback is going to be strutting out for Oklahoma.
You'll hear a large cheer if it's 14, and I'll tell you.
Legal formation offense, more than 4 players in the backfield. Penalties decline, result of the play, first down Oklahoma.
Well, obviously he tweaked something, but they don't think he hurt himself badly enough that he should not come back in, because there he is right in the middle of the huddle. And if you just joined us and wonder what we're talking about, had nothing to do with his shoulder. He was running to his left and threw a pass and tweaked his right knee. And they checked it for quite a bit on the sideline and gave him his headgear back.
And the way he was walking around, it didn't look like it felt great. Obviously, they're not going to put him back in if they're concerned with any kind of cartilage damage or anything like that. But he did look a little tender while he was walking around on the sideline.
Chris Bound comes into the ball game at tailback. And Brown will take it for 1, and that's about it, as we're about to go under 5 minutes in this opening quarter. Interesting that Baylor started the ball game, and they only had 1 running play for a long time, and now they've started throwing a bit. Oklahoma now trying it on the ground a bit with a second down and 9. Here's Bradford. Pitches it back to Brown, and he will only have a couple of yards. Going to be a third down and long for Oklahoma.
It was interesting talking to Kevin Wilson, who was taking a little heat this week about what some people thought was conservative play calling against Miami. I understood a lot of those calls at the end of the game with the way his offensive line played, but trying to find some identity. Lost Gresham, they now lose Broyles. They get Bradford back. They're just trying to figure out who they are.
Blitz coming off the corner. Pass is complete at the 40-yard line. That is an excellent job on the reception. 12 yards by Cameron Kenny. And here is a young man, the junior college transfer out of Dacula, Georgia, who has really stepped up.
Big game last week against Miami. Got a little bit of confidence. Bradford looking for anybody to take over that role. Joaquin Iglesias, Manuel Johnson, and Ryan Broyles all gone.
Great grab in the flat this time by Caleb. Caleb down the sideline, and a flag comes in late as he is bumped out of bounds at the 42 of Baylor. Jordan Lake on the play defensively. 21 yards if the play stands, and it will not. It's going to come back.
24 offense, 10-yard penalty, repeat first down.
Well, there's Dewan Miller as you look at Kevin Wilson. Dewan Miller is a young fellow sophomore out of Metuchen, New Jersey, a 400-meter guy in track. And he is just he is an all-airport guy, 6'4", 222, and can run like the wind. And he's not a good practice player, but they're trying to see if, hey, he can do something in the game, but he just got a holding call.
Yeah, and Kevin Wilson said he had his best week of practice, so they're expecting him to step up.
That pass caught by Eldridge, Brody Eldridge, and that's going to be enough for the first down at the 46 of Baylor. A story on Eldridge is the fact that he was all conference as a tight end 2 years ago and didn't even catch a pass.
And let's look at the motion, and it's so familiar. That was the first thing I looked at when we went out to practice on Thursday, was what did his motion look like? And that was the key. Talking to him yesterday, he said, with that injury and talking to all the guys who've had it before, don't come back too soon because you'll alter your motion. He has not at all.
Well, this running play is going to go for very short yardage, maybe a gain of 1. That is the first thing that you look for, and one of the mistakes that a coaching staff can make is all of a sudden a guy does change his motion because of pain.
And the thing about an AC joint sprain, pretty much anybody who's ever played quarterback has had one. So there's a lot of knowledge about how to come back. It is not a
For the snap, come out Baylor. It is their third of the half. It'll be 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
Big Phil Taylor, the transfer from Penn State, number 11, stood up in the middle of the line and said, we want a timeout.
Well, and you go back to that BYU game and you see the hit that caused the AC joint sprain, and you wonder how this doesn't happen more often. It's basically landing on the elbow with weight on you, jams that shoulder into the joint. And like I said, Chuck Long was back on campus this week to talk about the AC joint. It's located at the top of the shoulder. It's the pivot point for the arm rotation, ability to raise the arm over the head. But the key is, and I talked to a shoulder specialist this week out in Los Angeles, and she said, you will get all of your range of motion back and you will get all of your strength back if you give it time to heal and rehab, which is exactly what they've done with Sam Bradford. Shouldn't have much of an impact on his future at all.
This running play is going to go for about 5 yards. That's DeMarco Murray back into the ball game. And folks, just a moment ago, that timeout that was called by Big Phil Taylor, Baylor has already burned all of their timeouts, and it happened at the 4:50 mark of the first quarter. I know that Art Briles certainly didn't plan it that way, but that's the way they had to do it. A lot of new faces, and that does occur. Lob near sideline on the fade at the 20-yard line, incomplete. Cameron Kenny.
And here is another kind of tweener fourth down, which Oklahoma will go for. But, you know, another interesting thing, Bradford came out this week and said that surgery may be in the future. And talking to that shoulder specialist, she said it's very normal to come back, play for a while, and if it starts to bother you going for the surgery, it's a pretty simple procedure. They shave the bone, and she said the success rate for it is huge. So a lot of people thought, oh, no, there may be surgery in the future. But in talking to that specialist, she said, will not be a problem. He should be fine, even if he has to have that surgery.
Tress Way will come on to punt. Bob Stoops says, nope, we're not going to go for it. And he will try to pooch it, and he pooched it too far. Into the end zone. Baylor will take it over at the 20-yard line. Well, this week, ABC Saturday Night Football features a Big Ten battle as Kirk Ferentz's undefeated Iowa Hawkeyes take on Tate Forcier and the Michigan Wolverines. ABC Saturday Night Football presented by Southwest Airlines. 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 Pacific.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how Tate Forcier from San Diego, California. A little bit of snow today in Iowa. Might be some tough weather conditions at Kinnick Stadium. How Forcier from San Diego reacts.
The thing that might make it even tougher, though, Michigan's leading ground gainer had a concussion and is not going to be able to go in that ball game this evening. Brown, right?
And Brandon Minor, who's been battling an ankle injury, should be back. And Rich Rodriguez says he's as healthy as he's been, but that high ankle sprain is tough to get over.
Pass thrown complete, short, quick one to Brad Taylor. And defensively, I tell you, Proctor just all over that thing. He absolutely, Sam Proctor, a sophomore, he's out of Pearland, Texas. Came in as a quarterback. It looks to me like he's learning defensive back very quickly and very well. No gain, second down. Got this one complete at the 30 to Sampson. now being pushed back, but they'll see he had forward progress to the 31, and that is enough for the first down.
You know, yesterday when we were watching the film of Baylor against Kent State, the first thing that both of us noticed was Nick Florence has a very good motion. The ball gets out quickly. He's accurate. Right. I think pretty highly recruited guy. Turned down Purdue to come to Baylor. Both of his folks graduated from Baylor. His fraternal twin brother Luke is a student at Baylor. He said, this was home. This is where I wanted to go. And I think Robert Griffin is their guy for the future, but I think they've got a player here in Nick Florence as well.
Jay Finley back in the ball game, playing with a high ankle sprain, and Florence is going to keep the ball, and he'll have a gain of 4 to the 35. Well, there's a new place to go to get the latest on the teams you care about most. ESPNDallas.com. Big 12 football, the Stars, the Mavericks, and of course the Cowboys. ESPNDallas.com is your home for sports news, radio highlights, and updates in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex.
And this is that cat and mouse game that offenses are now playing, where you're not sure if they're going to snap it. The coach is upstairs for Art Briles telling him what defense they're in. Are they going to snap it or come out of it?
Florence had quick pass again, and Baylor really likes this. It is not enough for the first down, but it'll be 3rd down and 1. And this reminds me so much of Southern Cal with Matt Leinart, who is not known as the quickest of foot guy, and Norm Chow would have him one step out from under center. He was not in shotgun most of the time, as they tried for the 3rd down, and they don't get it. But he would just raise up and throw the football. Impossible to put pressure on.
And that's the whole key when you're playing against a defensive front like Jeremy Beal in Oklahoma. And this is awfully close. They went with the quick snap on the quarterback sneak. And it looks like Baylor, well, they're going to let the quarter run out before they decide what to do. But I like this playing by Baylor on those quick throws, because the way Beal and his mates have been rushing, get away from those guys.
ESPN on ABC.
Okay, thank you, ladies from Baylor. Look at those numbers. 83 to 51 total yardage in favor of Baylor. In time of possession at Cunningham, 11 minutes to 3 minutes and 57 seconds. That's one way to keep them getting burned big time by the Oklahoma offense.
And Sam Bradford over on the sideline, still not looking like he feels great on that right foot that he tweaked ever so slightly when he was rolling to his left trying to hit Brody Eldridge.
Well, 4th down, and they go for it, and they make it. Wow. From inside their own 40-yard line, it was Ganaway, the young man from DeKalb, Texas. Szymanski in the ball game to receive the snap.
I was surprised they went for it. I thought it was going to be that deal where they went up and tried to draw Oklahoma off sides, because they've actually played pretty well on defense so far. Thought they'd punt that away.
Florence back in the ball game at quarterback, though, replacing Szymanski, who came in for that one single play. Blake injured his shoulder and was unable to go in this ball game today, and so far the freshman has acquitted himself pretty well. Looking, gonna go long, near sideline, has a man, collision, and here come flags. Kendall Wright was the intended receiver.
You know, Art Briles said to us on the phone this week, talking about Nick Florence,
Pass interference, number 20 defense, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
that he was an operator, just has a good feel for the game. When you're a receiver and you see that the defender has his back turned and is trailing, if you throw it short and inside, this is exactly what you get. Carter was late getting around, made contact with Kendall Wright. I think this is the proper call, but Nick Florence does really seem to have a nice feel for this game. A lot of times you'll see a young quarterback try to air that thing out, and your receiver really doesn't have a step. So why not underthrow it to the inside with your receiver looking back? He stops and runs right into the defender, and you get this call.
Salubi in motion, bottom of your screen, and a quarterback draw. Another flag comes down, and that, from where it was thrown by the umpire, going to be offensive holding.
Holding, offense, right guard, 10-yard penalty, repeat first down.
So, Ed Cunningham, I would simply suggest to you that the format that Art Briles has right now for this ball game has got to be worrying Bob Stoops, because Bob's offense is not getting out there real often.
Baylor needs to start converting, though. They've started to have these little mistakes. It's like they're moving the ball and almost surprising themselves. They need to feel okay that they've come to Norman, Oklahoma. And Art Briles said, after today, we're going to know a lot about ourselves individually and as a team. And right now, Baylor is in here playing as best they can against number 19 Oklahoma. They need to just quit making those little mistakes with the penalties, hands to the face, and now a holding penalty.
And if you just turned us on, there is no score. Going to throw it on top, far sideline, and this one well overthrown. But the Bears also serving notice to the cornerbacks, that time Brian Jackson, and to OU, you know, we will go on top on you.
And Art Briles, got to know him a few years ago, did one of his bowl games while he was at Houston. What he's setting up right now with those long balls, not only because they're trying to hit him, but he's also setting up for those corners to realize you need to be bailing out. Now watch as the game goes on, he'll start getting more and more wide receiver screens in when those guys bail out.
Well, in the first quarter, they had over 11 minutes time of possession. This drive here, Ed, is the 8th play, this one right here. They are holding on to the football. Screen pass against the defense, good call here. And they're going to wind up gaining about 12 yards of that back, 10 of the penalty, and 2 more. Salubi on the receiving end.
Well, and taking a look at Art Briles, and has spent his entire coaching career in the state of Texas. Played at the University of Houston, was a wonderful high school coach, went to Texas Tech as a running back coach.
The Four Fingers, 4 state championships in Texas high school football. And folks, that's equivalent to a lot of wins on any level. Third down. They need to take it to the 33 of OU. Florence steps up into the pocket, turns the corner, and has to go out of bounds at the 40-yard line, well short of the first down. But he did the smart thing. When you have a not so large number of quarterbacks, you got to be smart and do something that is expedient to save your body.
And it seems like every offensive series has stopped on the 40-yard line of the opponent, and now again,
they're going to go for it.
Absolutely. And again, I like this call.
Ganaway this time at tailback. From the shotgun. Far sideline, caught at the 21-yard line. I beg your pardon, Ernest Smith. Incomplete pass.
Well, they were
Try for the snap. False start, offense, number 59. 5-yard penalty. Still fourth down.
You know, this is one of those things where when you got a fire breather coming at you, you leave early. Sometimes you line up wrong. I jokingly said with John Morris, who does the radio play-by-play for Baylor before the ball game, you know, with Watkins and Blake, the 2 tackles from Canada, Austin English, the left defensive end, working against Watkins. He's from Canadian Texas, so there are a lot of Canadians doing battle on that field this afternoon, and getting after one another.
The Canadian from Canada was a little early because the Canadian from Texas was about to get a good jump on him.
Kick into the end zone, 46 yards in the kick. Timeout. No score, Baylor and Oklahoma. A Heisman Trophy that season. And see play number 22 is going to be revealed tonight at 8 Eastern time. Our situation, 12:01 to play, first half. Oklahoma, Baylor locked up, no score. Sam Bradford back on the field.
Prior to the snap, false start, number 6, offense, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Well, in case you joined us late, Ed, take it here.
Yeah, and very first series, right as Bradford tried to throw across his body, his right foot just landed weird, and he got over the sideline. They started working on that knee. He's been back in the game, but he does not. It probably will get better as the game goes on, but the series after that, he looked like he was still favoring that right leg.
So 5 yards stepped off against the Sooners. 1st and 15. Bradford throws the pass complete. 20-25 is Reynolds. Jazz Reynolds, a freshman out of Houston, Texas. Now, with all the injuries and all the new faces, one of the things, like the offside just a moment ago, that the coaches talked about yesterday, particularly Coach Wilson, about offense, their lack of continuity has really been surprising. As a major penalty is being stepped off here. What happened, Ed?
Well, I didn't even see the flag. And the referee just called off a personal foul, and they just walked off 15 yards. Carl Richens, the referee, made that call very quickly.
That's the 6th penalty against Baylor, the 2nd 15-yarder. Brown going to take it to almost the 50-yard line. Well, the song Boomer Sooner was written in 1905. From what university was it borrowed? The Aflac trivia question for today. We'll be back in just a bit to give you that answer. Bradford back to throw, has a man wide open, underthrows it, but a great job by the receiver. That's DeMarco Murray at the 31-yard line.
Well, you talk about new bodies everywhere. Murray now having to play some wide receiver with Ryan Broyles out.
Well, hurry up, and the running play is not going to go anywhere. Pavelic is there to make the tackle, as Brown simply could not get out of his grasp, and it's going to be a 2nd down and 10. Bradford has a man wide open, 15-yard line. 1st down, Oklahoma. That's Cameron Kenny again. Wow, was he open.
Well, in this offensive line, you've got to figure their blood pressure raised a little bit. Sam Bradford comes back. You don't want to be the guy that gives up a sack on the Heisman Trophy winner nursing a bad shoulder, and that was really nice protection. No pressure brought by Baylor.
Quick pass. Got it. 5 at the 2. It's Cameron Kenny. 1st and goal, Oklahoma from the 2-yard line.
And Oklahoma is going super fast now. I like this tempo on this drive.
So Baylor trying desperately to make defensive changes, bringing in some bigger bodies here in the red zone with a 1st and goal from the 2-yard line. Clapp comes in at fullback. He's the lead. Handed off in the sweep, and it'll be touchdown Oklahoma. And here comes a flag in from the deep corner. Let's wait and see, but boy, that could be holding. It is holding against Oklahoma. The man I was just talking about, Matt Clapp.
Number 47, offense. 10-yard penalty. Repeat, 1st down.
Let me apologize to Matt Clapp. Trent Lattery, the number 2 tight end, number 47, was flagged for the hold.
Yeah, he's the guy who comes in motion right there at the end of the line of scrimmage. And as he tripped and fell down, he completely pulled Antonio Johnson to the ground. A good call by the officials on the spot.
So a new 1st down, Ed, and they push it back to the 12-yard line. Now a flag from the other side, and quite frankly, every one of these probably are exactly right. But the crowd is getting a little antsy about all the laundry.
Ball, illegal substitution. Defense, 12 players on the field at the snap. 5-yard penalty. Still 1st down.
It's interesting. This exactly the penalty on Rattery was exactly what Bob Stoops was talking about yesterday. This offense not as good as it was last year. He said those little penalties really hurt us this year, not as much as they did last year.
And boy, those are not little when you get a touchdown and you have to go back to the 12-yard line. 11th penalty of the game, 7 on Baylor. Pass over the middle, incomplete. Little too tall for Cameron Kenny.
And you've got to keep this in perspective. That was not a good throw by Sam Bradford, but here's a guy who's only been practicing for 2 weeks. Kenny, a guy who they didn't suspect would have to play as much as he is from junior college. They're still trying to get used to some of these guys.
Yeah, it's the quarterback's got more than he can say grace over as far as learning all these new receivers. Swing pass, incomplete. Chris Brown, and Scotton was the man who was trailing on the play, and if Zach had turned around, he might have had an interception.
Well, and don't forget, you're also missing Jermaine Gresham, the fine tight end, who
best in the country.
And in this exact territory is where Josh Heupel, the quarterback's coach, and Kevin Wilson, the offensive coordinator, miss a ton.
You're exactly right. What, he had 61 catches last year. Third down. Bradford gets it away, caught inside, and here comes a late flag in. Cameron Kenny with what appears to be a touchdown, but let's check the marker.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, number 97, defense, illegal helmet contact. Half the distance to the goal, first down.
Now that's Trey Bryant, knocks over the center and hits him high. And Cameron Kenny did not catch this, but you cannot go up and put your hands or your helmet near the helmet of the quarterback. Not much of a hit, but they will call that every time.
First down, straight ahead with the handoff, down to the 2-yard line. And folks, if it's a broken record, if it sounds like it to you, we go in and then we come back, and then we go in a little bit further and then we come back. That is now what, 8 penalties on Baylor. Eight penalties on Baylor, and 3 against Oklahoma. And he didn't get into the end zone here either.
Yeah, and here come the boos, and this is what Kevin Wilson has been dealing with all week because of what happened last week against Miami. People thinking he was too conservative, so people a little bit on edge. I think they're a little unrealistic with their expectations, but this is tough right now for them to take.
Play action out in the flat, and the ball is dropped by Matt Clapp. Now Kevin Wilson didn't drop that.
No. No.
And look at this guy. Say, where's the holding call?
And now it looks like on 4th down that Oklahoma will go for it. I think that Bob Stoops a little upset. So now I think you have to look for Sam Bradford. Do not run this ball. Let your quarterback maybe some crossing routes.
That is the 4th drop by Oklahoma receivers in this first half. Running play, touchdown, Chris Brown. Trent Williams with the paving block. And somebody is finally on the scoreboard, and it's the homestanding Oklahoma Sooners at the 8:26 mark of the second quarter. Stevens to attempt the extra point. Good pass, and Jimmy knocks it home. And with 8:26 left until halftime, our new score is Oklahoma 7 and Baylor nothing.
ESPN's College Football on ABC. Brought to you by Nissan Maxima, proud partner of the Heisman Trophy. Aflac, we've got you under our wing. And Bud Light, with the just right taste that's not too heavy, not too light. The difference is drinkability.
Well, the National Weather Center, of course, it works to improve understanding of events occurring in the Earth's atmosphere. Now, this is a great view, and it is now a little bit hazy as you look at the scoring drive. 12 plays and 80 yards, 3:35 off the clock. But what a great shot coming from our camera up in the sky today. And you can see that Capacity House, there are no seats to be had in this one for this first conference game. From the 7 is Williams. That ball is loose.
Now that looked like
I'll tell you what, both teams pulling players off, and now those are the biggest discussions, and it is going to stay with Baylor. Matt Wider, let's check with you in New York City. Wow. Well, not surprising that it is a low-scoring affair. For some reason, I kind of thought that Ohio State's defense playing at home, particularly that defensive front, would kind of maintain control.
Well, and that's probably why Brett Bielema decides to go for the fake field goal. As good as Ohio State is up front, thinking we're not going to get a whole bunch of shots, we better attempt something a little
create
crazy.
Our own. That's right. Lawrence, play action, goes over the middle, has it complete. That's going to be close to the first down, but they're going to say that his knee dragged about a yard short. That's Akers on the receiving end. Well, here's the answer to our Aflac trivia question. The song Boomer Sooner was written in 1905. From what university was it borrowed? Well, you should know. Yale University. The song Boola Boola, written in 1900. Now sing that the rest of the afternoon. That's Boola Boola that's playing right now. Then complicated and add Boomer Sooner. That's not going to be enough for the first down as Ryan Reynolds steps up to make the tackle on Jay Finley.
Good penetration that time by Oklahoma up front. Really the first time that Art Briles has had to deal with a lot of penetration in his run game. He was getting some not good yardage but productive yardage against Gerald McCoy, who looks like he may be banged up. Wow, we've just had a lot of guys who haven't.
Well, Finley, we know, has the high ankle sprain, and you can see him coming off to the near sideline. So that means that Terrence Ganaway again will check in. Third down, they need about 2, and they throw it. And the tackle, what a defensive play. Put a huge asterisk by that play right there, because Sampson had no place to go. It was Keenan Clayton who came up and just cut his hair.
What a nice job, Clayton, a safety in 2007. They needed some more speed at linebacker last year, so they moved him down around the line of scrimmage. Walked out in coverage on the slot receiver, who was then going to block, and Clayton just completely outran him as the receiver Sampson right when he caught it.
This is Epperson, his 4th punt of the afternoon, and it's off the side of his foot. Franks picks it up at the 15. Still on his feet, and a good open field tackle at the 20-yard line. So let's take a timeout. Sam Bradford, shoulders okay, tweaked the knee today. We'll see him again in just a moment. Welcome back to Norman. Right now, let's take a look at our Pacific Life game summary.
You wouldn't really expect that Nick Florence, the freshman making his second start, would be statistically better than Sam Bradford, but he's had a few more tries, and Bradford tweaked that knee, and then he's had a couple of throws sail on him, and almost all new receivers. You've got to keep that in context, all the new guys, and of course with Ryan Broyles, the most experienced receiver, getting hurt last week, take another guy out of the mix. It hadn't been a great day so far for Sam.
Eldridge in motion. Play action, and Sam is in trouble, and it's going to be sacked at the 10-yard line. That's Trey Bryant, the senior out of Dallas. Berkner, 6'2", 315 pounds.
Well, and that was just a run over by Bryant over Stephen Good, the guard who just checked in the game, usually a backup. Straight bull rush, ran him right over and got into the lap of Bradford before he could get rid of it.
So with his second down and with the loss, they got to take it all the way to the 30-yard line. So it's 2nd and 20. Swing pass. Brown stepped out of bounds at the 23. And now here is a flag.
And they are going to get a late hit on free safety Jordan Lake. First team all Big Ten safety last year. Didn't know, probably didn't hear the whistle, didn't know that Brown had stepped out of bounds and went to finish it off. And because Brown had stepped out and the whistle had blown, I believe they're going to get him for a personal foul.
All Big 12 last year.
There is no foul on the play. The action on the sideline was legal. Third down.
Jordan Lake, by the way, a senior out of Houston, Texas, played at Memorial High School.
And I like that they called this off. There's no way that he knows Brown had stepped out. He thinks the play is continuing, coming over to make the tackle. I don't mind them blowing that one off, even though the Oklahoma coaches were hoping for it.
So it is now third down. Line to make is the 30. Bradford. Boy, somebody blew a coverage as that receiver was wide open. And that's Caleb. Hang on. 40. 35. Stopped inside the 30 at the 28. Brandon Caleb, a junior out of Atlanta. 49 yards.
Well, there's Caleb in the slot. Runs an out cut. And because the deep route was run to the outside to Jazz Reynolds, the linebacker Jones late getting over.
Bradford over the middle. Got it complete at the 13-yard line. And it's Brandon Caleb again. This time good for 16 yards. So that's 65 yards in 2 plays by him.
Caleb, a guy who was most experienced after Ryan Broyles went down. So you can see Bradford starting to rely on him a little bit.
Option play, pitches it back to Brown, tries to turn the corner. He is going to be around the 10-yard line. Jordan Lake defensively for Baylor. Now they'll say forward progress to the 8.5-yard line. 7-0 Oklahoma leads, and they're driving again. We're about to go under 4 to play until halftime. Well, I have a feeling as Bradford got knocked down after. Well, actually, that was the tackle that got knocked down right in front of him. I think he was just throwing that one away. I hope so.
Yeah, shaking his head a little bit, though. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure that ball just didn't slip out of his hand.
Could have.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Madu into the lineup, and they're using him at wide receiver much more now instead of running back. He's playing in the slot. Bradford over the middle. That's not going to be a flag. Okay.
Wow.
Whatever. Rivalry, the intended receiver. Jordan Lake was the man who was making the cover on the play, but there is a flag back behind the line of scrimmage.
Well, Rattery's just running a post route.
Personal foul. Roughing the passer. 41 defense. Half the distance to the goal. Automatic first down.
Man, they missed.
After seeing that replay, though, their feet did get tangled. I don't think it happened from being pushed. Do you?
Yeah. Well, he did have that right arm kind of dragging a little bit there, and that's the second time in a row where second call that has been made for going to the helmet. That was Pavelic that time, too high on the quarterback.
That is 3 15-yard penalties in this first half against the Baylor Bears. And we'll check the total number here in just a second. Running play. Brown's second touchdown of the afternoon. Oklahoma goes on top 13-0.
Well, this offensive line, which lost a ton of guys. A little bit of a power play where the backside guard pulls around. Of course, they graduated Phil Lodeholt, Duke Robinson, Brandon Walker, John Cooper. Robinson, Lodeholt, and Cooper all in the NFL. And this offensive line just trying to find their way right now. Not dominant, not consistent, but trying to get better each week.
Stevens with the extra point. And at the 3:48 mark, that's what we have left until halftime as we go to break. One more look at Chris Brown making it Oklahoma 14-0. We'll be right back. Yeah, that is absolutely gorgeous on this sunshiny day. As you can see, it is just almost 2 blocks away, almost backing up to the stadium. Landscaping and everything simply beautiful. And on a day like today, it really magnifies the beauty of anything that is manicured like that.
It's interesting talking to Sam Bradford about the timing of coming back against Baylor a week before they go to Dallas. He said, yeah, it's kind of nice how that worked out, isn't it?
Short kickoff on the ground, picked up at the 30-yard line, and good field position for Baylor at the 40. Now, a reminder, Tony Stewart re-emerged as a championship contender following his week up in Kansas. Can Mark Martin or Jimmy Johnson answer back as the chase heads west? Chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup continues. The Pepsi 500 at California on Sunday. That's 2:30 Eastern on ABC. Here are the penalties in this first half, folks. Baylor 9 for 68, 5 major penalties. At Oklahoma 4 for 40, a total of 13 penalties.
And now for Art Briles and Nick Florence, his freshman quarterback, without any timeouts. At plenty of time, but they've been moving it, just haven't been able to finish it off.
Well, that pass got it off quickly, but threw it just behind Kendall Wright. That'll stop the clock at the 3:40 mark. You know, I could see what the head coach means when he talks about this young man's poise and the fact that he just doesn't get up all tight. It's not bothering him, this big crowd, or playing Oklahoma.
Nope. And that's what Art Briles talked about all week. He said, keep your focus tight. It's a 100-yard field, 53 yards wide, 60 minutes on the clock for the game. Just keep it focused. And he said Nick Florence does a good job of not worrying. He leaves that to me. Lets me worry about all the stuff, what plays to call, etc.
Little play action this time. Over the middle, wide open. That's Brad Taylor, the tight end. And he's finally going to be tackled at the 27 by Sam Proctor. Woo. Did somebody blow a coverage? 43 yards on that pass play.
Well, it was an excellent job. Good play call. Watch Brad Taylor as he comes over to that side of the field. They release him right down to the middle of the field. And this is what we saw a couple times against Miami last week, just losing the tight end.
Well, Florence gets that one away. Just trying to throw the pass away, and it's Frank Alexander who came in with the hit on him.
And that was a nice job by Florence just to be able to get that away, because Frank Alexander was right on top of him. Art Briles' background is a high school coach. Called all of his own offensive plays. Started in the college ranks under Mike Leach, of course, who had come from Oklahoma to Texas Tech as a running backs coach, and then got the head job at Houston and continued to call his own plays. Done it his entire career.
So the situation. Play clock is down to 4, down to 3. Second down and 10, Baylor. Inside the 20, fade route, and it is caught. And that's Willie Jefferson, who climbed the ladder again, the 6'6", 210-pound receiver. And they're going to say now incomplete.
Yeah, came in late. You know, talking to the coaches, they said they were going to try to get Jefferson 6'6" with a 40-inch vertical jump. And let's see if that ball did in fact hit the ground. Yeah, it did. That's the right call. Jefferson almost came up with a great catch.
Couldn't secure it.
Couldn't quite lock it in.
This shot right here will tell you. Well, actually, Brian Jackson, by yanking on his right arm,
nice
pulled
job.
it away from it. It really was a good job. So it's third down. Florence looking, now drills it, and can he hold on? Yes, he does at the 3-yard line. Ernest Smith.
What an incredible catch by Smith.
New set of downs, Ed.
I mean, good throw. Nick Florence, you know, we talked about it. There's Smith in the slot. Just gets back inside. Good coverage.
Wow.
Right as the safety was getting there.
Nice grab.
Number 20, Quentin Carter, and that was an excellent catch. And, you know, I know it's only the first half, but what we've seen from Nick Florence was exactly what we saw last week against Kent State. Not taking anything away from Kent State, but that's not the Sooners defense that he played. But this young man really looks the part. And I don't think it was lip service what Art Briles was saying, that he's an operator.
Well, let's see. The timeout here.
Oklahoma is challenging the ruling on the field that it was a completed pass.
Oh, okay. Because I knew Baylor had no timeouts left. They burned their last one with just over 4 minutes to play in the first quarter. And even if Oklahoma loses this one, they still got 2.
I think the key here is just like we saw on the fade before, does the ball end up hitting the ground? It looked pretty clean to me.
Oh, that one would kind of lose it, though.
Yeah, and remember that a catch is a process. You have to come down and control the ball. So it's not enough that the knee hits the ground while he has possession.
You know,
no, that's a catch.
He did. He secured it.
I think a good challenge, though, by Bob Stoops.
Yeah, I do too. But it looks like it is secured already with the right hand, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, I think that's a catch, but it did look close from the angle we just saw.
Yeah.
I don't see any indisputable video evidence to overturn the call on the field, which is what would happen. But, of course, coaches get a challenge. You can use that timeout. So Stoops will lose the timeout, which could matter when his offense gets the ball back, and he loses the ability to challenge for the rest of the game.
Well, here's a reminder coming up, the Cooper Tires halftime report.
But, of course, a converted third down where it looked like Baylor may have to try a field goal. I don't mind. Again, I like the challenge, but that looked to me like Ernest Smith made a clean catch. Nice job, actually.
Ernest Smith is, you know, he's been really good when they have thrown the football to him. One of the inside receivers, 6'3", 200 pounds, a senior out of New Orleans.
And, of course, the officials see exactly what we've seen. We feed our camera shots up to the replay officials, so they see exactly what you've seen at home. There's no other cameras that those officials get. So we're all treated to the same thing that they're seeing. And the rule says that it has to, the call on the field to be overturned has to be indisputable.
After further review, the ruling on the field stands. It is a catch. First down.
First and goal, Baylor Bears. The ball now will be 3 1/2 yards away. And as we have a couple of seconds, you know, I just want to say, you know, Art Briles is a guy that you talked about, has done all his coaching in the state of Texas. And a lot of people in this state know him, and they like him, and they admire him. And I don't know if you've ever heard this story or not, but one of the most difficult things I've ever heard in my life. He played at the University of Houston. They went to Dallas for a game against SMU and continued to look in the stands for his parents, only to find out after the game that both had been killed in a car crash going up there. And, you know, I just thought, wow. And he was able to hold it together, keep his life, you know, in one piece and do what he loved doing, and that was playing, wanted to pursue football.
And you hear a lot of coaches talk about making their team a family. There's nobody who does that more than Art Briles. Has a son, Kendall, who coaches wide receivers for him, but he keeps a very tight family atmosphere in his locker room and his team.
Play action to Ganaway, throws it out in the flat, and that's Andrew Judy, a senior out of Crawford, Texas. And the Baylor Bears are on the scoreboard at the 2:10 mark.
How many times do you see that where a guy who's coming across a formation as a blocking back then slips out into the flat and nobody picks him up? Great call by Art Briles.
Parks with the extra point attempt. He's got it.
Comes across, going to run right into the flat. Easy pickings. All of a sudden, Baylor's back in this ball game.
14-7. Sooners. We'll be right back. Let's do it. In Norman, Oklahoma, it's the opening of the Big 12 conference season for both of these teams, and Baylor has just scored to cut OU's lead to 14-7. Wow, good coverage on the special teams. He's not going to make it. Madu tackled just shy of the 10-yard line. Well, ABC's Desperate Housewives is all new this Sunday. It's everything you expect from Desperate Housewives, lovers, liars, and alibis. And an old fling comes back to tempt Gabby in what could be the hottest episode of the season. That's Sunday night at 9, 8 Central on ABC. And I know where Ed Cunningham will be on the West Coast.
Watching a replay of Oklahoma-Baylor, most likely. And for Sam Bradford, all of that experience, unfortunately, all around him is inexperience. I think this is a key drive, not just for this game, but for the season, to see how they react. 2 timeouts, 2:04 deep in their own territory.
DeMarco Murray in the ball game, and he's going to be stopped after a gain of about 4 on the play. And I think, if nothing else, what the coaches would like to see is the word I brought up on that last drive: continuity, and not a lack of. They want continuity, which is what the Sooners have not had on a regular basis in the early part of this season. Pass completed. Jazz Reynolds, and Reynolds will have the first down. And now the hurry up by the Sooners at the 30-yard line. That's good for 13 yards. In and out of the hands of Jazz Reynolds.
It looked like Reynolds, a true freshman, was not ready for that ball. It was thrown a tiny bit low.
It looked like what you were talking about just earlier in this period of new receivers and everybody growing accustomed to each other. Screen. Murray. 40-45. And enough for the first down. Pavelic making the tackle for Baylor, and he's got a bunch of them in the first half already. OU quickly back to the line of scrimmage. Chris Brown comes in a tailback. Deep over the middle. Has him. 35-yard line. Brandon Caleb.
And I think Baylor allowing Sam Bradford with a 4-man rush to stand in that pocket is a mistake. Because right now, he's the Heisman Trophy winner for a reason. He's a great pro prospect for a reason. And the offensive line for Oklahoma has struggled picking up the blitz. I'd want to see pressure.
Here comes pressure this time. They throw it complete, but a good job defensively. And that's the first catch by DeJuan Miller. Miller, as we talked about earlier, that a big target, 6'4", 224 pounds. And they're trying to get him in action more and to get the football to him, because once he catches it, he can really run well. As we said, he's a track guy. And we have a 30-second timeout. Let's go to New York. Matt Weiner, what do you have for us? Okay, Matt, not surprising that sputtering Ole Miss offense is having trouble against a very, very good Alabama defense. Toby Keith, he is a huge Sooner fan. I see him all the time at basketball games when we're here doing the telecast. Got his new DVD out. Deep over the middle, got a man open, and the ball is dropped by Caleb. Caleb was looking at the promised land saying, Toby Keith's going to be singing about me here.
Well, and this is what is going to plague the Sooners all year. This is exactly it. This is a blitz from the outside, unpicked up. Bradford gets cut in half, and then a receiver, even though he's a junior, Caleb making the drop. I don't think people realize how much they were going to miss Joaquin Iglesias and Manuel Johnson, because those guys caught everything you threw to them.
Third down. The line to make is the 25, and of course we include Broyles in that group as well. That pass dropped. That's Jazz Reynolds, the freshman, and that ball, well, probably should have been caught. It hit him right in the hands.
And you know, Kevin Wilson has been taking a lot of heat, but when you're dropping 7 passes, your offensive line, like they did last week, has had trouble picking up the blitz. I look at some of these calls and I say, I understand them. I understand why you run it 6 times in a row. Because they just are really struggling to find any rhythm whatsoever.
Two of those first plays that people fussed about, there was a gain of 12 and a gain of 8. You do continue to run when you're picking up that kind of yardage. OU on 4th down attempts today, 1 of 2. Pass almost intercepted. And then a second chance, but Baylor will take it over with 25 seconds 25 seconds until halftime. Jeremy Williams with a nice job with the cover.
And that was just a very disappointing drive. If you're an Oklahoma fan thinking about next week going to Dallas for the neutral site game against Texas, and that ball, Bradford just never even saw Williams, the strong safety who had come off of his coverage on the tight end Eldridge, never even saw him. But can't put all of that on Bradford. 2 drops on that drive, and
total of 7 we have unofficially in the first half.
And an offense that scored at will last year, really struggling.
So that's Salubi. He will carry the ball straight forward, and that should be, unless they go hurry up here, the final play of the first half. And Bradford heading to the sideline, and is he limping a little bit? He tweaked the knee on the second series. He just came down strange. Art Briles' crew just playing a very, very stubborn and tough game here. You see the numbers on Bradford: 14 of 25, 227 yards, and there was no scoring in this ball game until the second quarter. And because time of possession at the end of the first quarter, Ed, was over 11 minutes for Baylor and not quite 4 for the Oklahoma Sooners. It's intermission time. Let's take a break. Big 12 action from Norman, 14-7 OU. Well, for those of you who have been with us, an absolutely gorgeous day in Norman, Oklahoma. Capacity House for this first conference game of 09. And for those of you just joining us, it is 14-7. I know that the Sooners were heavily favored in this one, but that situation has simply not afforded itself.
No, especially Sam Bradford comes back, the Heisman Trophy winner. He's a bunch of guys dropping balls, but Baylor needs to clean up the penalties too. They've had their chances.
With the kick return. And Madu takes it out to around the 40-yard line. So our score as we open the third quarter is 14-7. The Oklahoma Sooners on top. And Ed Cunningham, and going back and looking at the numbers, a lot of uh-ohs on both sides, both Baylor and Oklahoma.
Yeah, Oklahoma with all of those drops, and Bradford missed a strong safety and coverage, almost threw an interception there at the end. So long way to go for Oklahoma offensively. And as they head into the Big 12 conference schedule, of course they play Texas next week. They have a lot of things to clean up. Let's see if they can do it here in the second half.
DeMarco Murray in the ball game to open the second half. And let's take a look at the Pacific Life game summary and some of the things that Ed is talking about. Normally categories we don't put on there, but like penalties, good heavens, 13 penalties, 9 against Baylor. And look at drops. 7 passes dropped by Oklahoma, 2 by Baylor. Murray has 5, has 10, counted off at about 12 yards. Jordan Lake will make the tackle out of the secondary, and Brian Simmons, the left guard, with a very nice block on the play. From the shotgun, Bradford pitches it back, and the ball juggled just a moment by Murray. Then he rights himself and winds up with a gain of a couple. Ed, let's complete this right here. Only 2 yards rushing by Baylor in the first half.
Nick Florence played very well, 16 of 23 for 164 yards, but it was those penalties for Baylor. Remember those 2 15-yarders? Personal fouls on Sam Bradford where they went to his head, and then
he had 5 major penalties in the first half. That's a chunk. DeMarco Murray will have the first down as he fights his way inside the 37 and down to the 35. Antonio Jones makes the tackle, and that is going to be good for the Oklahoma first down.
Of course, Murray missed the national championship game against Florida with that hamstring injury. Had to have surgery during the offseason.
Pressure over the middle, too tall for Brody Eldridge.
And this is Kevin Wilson was talking about trying to get Eldridge involved. Of course, Eldridge started at center against BYU because they had so many problems on their offensive line. Ben Haber, the freshman who's starting now, had a back injury, so he had to start. They were going to move him over to guard, but with Gresham out, back to tight end. And Wilson said, we're going to try to get him involved in the passing game, but of course, nobody can replace Jermaine Gresham.
Bradford. A little miscommunication there as Jazz Reynolds did not run a pattern that Sam thought he was going to run, so he just threw him way over his head.
And this OU offense just completely out of sorts.
Third down, got to take it to the 25-yard line, and it's going to be a stretch as far as a field goal attempt if they don't pick up anything on this play right here. Here comes pressure, and they throw a middle screen, and a great job defensively by Baylor as the hit is made immediately on Chris Brown. Jason Lamb led the way, and that surely pushes it out of field goal range as they lose all the way back to the 40-yard line.
Yeah, and now you've got to start thinking, okay, Sam Bradford is back. You'd expect him to throw it down the field, but we saw receivers, they don't know which routes they're running. Balls are dropped, and I know that Kevin Wilson has been taking a lot of heat for his conservative play calling, but you start to see why. When guys are running wrong routes, they don't know where they're going, they drop the ball. There's just not much he can dial up that's going to work right now.
Hit at the 5 and going to go into the end zone. They had an opportunity to kill it very deep, but didn't make it. 12:34 left in this third quarter. 14-7, the Baylor ball coming up. Back, you look at the offensive unit of the Baylor Bears, and their defense did the job as they stopped what appears to be a good start for OU. Numbers on Florence, 16 of 23, 164 and a touchdown. That's not bad.
Not a bad start for a guy who started the season third string. The week of the Northwestern State game, he was helping run the scout team, and that was September 26th. And Robert Griffin goes down with an ACL injury. Blake Szymanski hurts his shoulder, and Florence takes over in that game, and then he started the last two.
Quick pass. Did he hold on? Yes. Kendall Wright. And I'll tell you, just as the ball was delivered, Nick Florence took a really hard blow from Travis Lewis, sophomore out of San Antonio, Robert E. Lee. Here's that hit I'm talking about.
Oh, that there could have been a targeting defensive player, shoulder above, 15-yarder on top of it. Austin English, another man who's battled quite a bit of injuries. Had surgery on his shoulder and his ankle during the offseason. Suffered through a broken leg. They say he's finally getting healthy and back into it.
Third down. Line to make is the 30. Blitz coming off that left side. Quick looking pass, and it's knocked down. And the Baylor coaches all over the officials over there saying he may have knocked it down with his left hand, but where was the right hand? Brian Jackson, judge for yourself.
No, I think that's great coverage. Really good position on the inside shoulder of the receiver. Brian Jackson, 6'1", good long arms for a cornerback. I thought that was really nice coverage.
Epperson. Low line drive. Picked up and then muffed, and then recovered by Franks inside the 20-yard line. Let's go to New York and check in with Matt Weiner. Matt. So it's first down, Oklahoma. Chris Brown in the backfield with Sam Bradford. And I don't mean there's not much doing right there in the middle of that line. Simmons, Jeffries, Haber having a tough time with that defensive front of the Baylor Bears.
Joe Pavelic, that middle linebacker, just such a steady guy for Baylor.
Quick set on the offense. Pass is thrown, juggled, but held on to by DeJuan Miller. There's his second catch of the afternoon. The young man that Ed and I talked about so much in the first half, that they really want to get him into the offense and throw him the football a lot. On top, there's Miller. 40, 35, and a first down, Oklahoma. Well, they're getting their wish, and the young man, maybe the light is beginning to come on.
You know, it's interesting. They were talking about his week of practice and how great it was. He hadn't been a great practice guy before then. Runs right by the corner, who's waiting for the safety to come over, who's late. 200-meter champion in the state of New Jersey. You'd mentioned how big, and 6'4", 6'3", 224 pounds. So he looks the part, now starting to play it.
Quick pass out to Caleb, and Caleb takes it 10 yards, now 12. So back-to-back plays, big. 36 yards on the last one, 12 yards on this one, and Jeremy Williams makes the stop for Baylor. And Oklahoma right back at the line of scrimmage, relentless in their pressure on the Baylor defense on this drive. Bradford stays under center this time and hands it off to Brown, and he will pick up 3. Antonio Jones coming from that strong side linebacking position to make the tackle.
Remember last year when they'd run that zone play? You never saw any color from the defense coming through it. It just not quite as good in that zone stretch as they were last year.
Boy, that ball was snapped. I don't know if it hit his leg or what. Bradford very alertly picked the ball up and threw it, and he overthrew it to make sure that nobody wearing a gold headgear made the interception. Now, I hope maybe we got a replay of that we might be able to get another look. The ball just dribbled back, and it was not even to the quarterback.
Yeah, I think Ben Hayburn, maybe it slipped out of his hand, or like you said, maybe hit his leg.
Third down, they need to take it to the 11-yard line. Bradford throws it incomplete. Very close coverage defensively. And now all of a sudden Oklahoma looking at a fourth down situation, and we see number 17 Jimmy Stevens coming on. The pass was intended for DeJuan Miller.
Good coverage there by Clifton Odom. Got there right when the ball did, and I think was able to poke it out of DeJuan Miller.
This is going to be a 35-yard attempt by Stevens. Good pass, plenty of distance, and he's got it. Let's take a timeout. New score, 17-7, Oklahoma. 9:25 left in the third.
College football on ABC. Brought to you by Nissan Maxima, proud partner of the Heisman Trophy. And the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot.
The Sam Noble Oklahoma Museum of Natural History has been a part of Oklahoma's culture and scientific life for over 100 years. And it features 5 permanent galleries to explore. 9:25 left third quarter. And it's 17-7. Sooners on top. Jimmy Stevens with a 35-yard field goal. Moreland to kick it off for the Sooners. Going to be grabbed at the 6. Geddes. Looked like Clayton, who was down there on the special teams, to make the tackle. So let's see if Baylor can get something going on this drive right here. Just before halftime, they certainly did.
Yeah, and it was interesting. We were talking at break about how Baylor's right in this thing. And if they can get something going on this drive, put a little pressure back on Oklahoma, who has not looked really smooth on offense, put a little pressure on him and see maybe if that affects Oklahoma, get a turnover, and all of a sudden, this thing could start changing around really quickly.
Now the crowd getting into this one.
I think they got Danny Watkins, the left tackle. At least that's who Austin English was hoping would be called for that.
So first down and 15. They'll now scrimmage from the 20-yard line. And Baylor backing up into the part of the stadium that is very loud with local folks. Pass just overthrown at the 45-yard line of OU. Kendall Wright, the one that they wanted.
And we had seen earlier that ball be underthrown by Nick Florence. That one he tried to hit right down the field, but Brian Jackson had great coverage. If anything, maybe underthrow that one again and see if Wright can't come back and make a play.
Got to be second down and 15. Five seconds on the play clock. Down to 4. Florence looks up to throw. Over the middle, had a man, and he overthrew Brad Taylor, the tight end. Similar situation that they had in the first half. Well, this week's ABC Saturday Night Football features a Big Ten battle as Iowa will take on the Michigan Wolverines. And, of course, that game is at Iowa. ABC Saturday Night Football presented by Southwest Airlines, 8 Eastern and 5 Pacific. Understand they had snow earlier today at the University of Iowa. Sooner defense asking for the crowd to get into this one with a third down and 15. And here they come, loud as we've heard them today. Blitz coming from the safety. Pass over the middle is caught. Broken tackle, broken again. And Ernest Smith is going to have the first down plus a lot more. Keena Clayton finally took him out of bounds. That is a gain of 35 yards.
And this is exactly what Brett Venables, the defensive coordinator, was talking about yesterday. We met with him going back to the Miami tape. This is a 3rd and long. You have an absolute missed tackle there by the strong safety, Sam Proctor. Then another missed tackle by the free safety, Quentin Carter, helps the first down pickup.
Pass over the middle, in and out of the hands of Kendall Wright.
But statistically, this is one of the best defenses Oklahoma in the country, only giving up 8.8 points per game coming in. Number 4 in the nation. But they have been battling some tackling issues. They were very apparent last week against the Hurricanes. And of course, going forward in the season next week at Dallas against Texas.
It looks like Carter that they are attending to on the sideline. He was shaken up on the last play and came over, and the training staff met him. As you look at what Ed was talking about, the points, 8.75 points per game. See if we can find out exactly what happened to Quentin Carter.
Yeah, he looked like he came up a little gimpy after the long run that picked up the first down. He started hobbling over to the sideline.
Salubi is the setback for Baylor. And they'll hand it to him. Tries to turn the corner. Going to be short yardage. Brian Jackson came up and just gobbled him up. Boy, Brian has really played well this year. Second year for him as a starter. Very quick out of DeSoto, Texas.
And 6'1", taller than what you'd normally expect. Those cornerbacks usually find in that 5'10", 5'11" range. And there's Quentin Carter over on the sideline getting tended to. He came up and was really favoring his right leg after that missed tackle on that first down.
Third down, they need to take it to the 35-yard line. Oklahoma leads at 17-7. Flags all over the place as the pass is thrown.
I think my guess would be holding where both of those flags were thrown.
They came simultaneously.
Third one.
I think Bob Stoops wanting to talk about declining, and I think this is the right decision
Holding
here.
offense number 61. Penalties declined. Result of the play, 4th down.
And now I don't think Baylor should go for this. They've been in this situation a couple of different times at 4th and 5, 4th and 4. Now you're at almost 4th and 8. Your defense has been playing okay. Oklahoma has not been great on offense. I think you punt this away and play field position.
Well, they're going to go for it. 4th down. They've got to take it to the 35-yard line. Baylor is 2 of 2 on 4th down conversions. Oklahoma jumping around. Now flipping those defensive tackles. Florence, quick look in. Got it complete, but could not spin out of the grasp of the OU defender. And that is Jonathan Nelson. So Oklahoma will take it over on downs. Let's take a timeout. 17-7. Sooners on top. We'll be right back.
Sure.
So we're back. Part of the Capacity House. In fact, all of the Capacity House you look from our Sky Advantage. And right now, let's take a look at our city inside view.
So Ernest Smith is lined up one-on-one on Jonathan Nelson, who had just come in for Quentin Carter. And Ernest kind of stops his route. If he continues, good position by Nelson. I don't want to take anything away from him, but if Ernest Smith continues and runs that slant, I think he picks up the 1st down and may have picked up more.
Maybe more. Yeah.
But he tried to nab it and then spin back around. I think if he continued his motion, I believe he may have picked up that 1st down.
So OU starts at their own 37. Going to run a sweep to the near side. And that is a nice job by Baylor, just saying you're not going to do that. Pavelic was the man who led the charge, and he slowed him up enough that then a lot of help came from his friends. But normally Oklahoma very, very quick and able to get around the corner. And Baylor's well schooled on being prepared, aren't they? Loss of 1 on the play, 2nd and 11. And Bradford throws this one complete. Nice pitch and catch. Brandon Caleb, the junior out of Atlanta, continues to impress. He's 6'2", 186 pounds.
And here's a guy who they've been expecting big things. He missed 2007 with an injury that ended his season, but a good track athlete in high school. 3-time state champion in the triple jump and the long jump.
Now that play is going to go for a couple of yards, and that's about it. I know that LSU and Florida play tonight. I was interested when I saw the numbers posted this week about what Florida is averaging on 1st down. It's like 8 yards plus per carry when they run the football.
Yeah, that'll work.
Bradford going to run. This won't work. He just goes down, and very wisely. That's the reason I wondered then why everybody on those talk shows this morning were mulling over what are they going to do on offense. Hey, you got 22 guys back on defense. Let the defense take care of business, and the offense will take care of itself. Just run the football a little bit. You don't need a bunch of points. Bradford, quick look in, and the receiver, for some reason, Jazz Reynolds.
Well,
and so he tried to veer away from the ball and then went back after it.
Yeah, Bradford, the ball looks fine. You know, he hasn't been quite as accurate as he was last year, but you expect that after 3 weeks off. But it's obvious those outside receivers, Jazz Reynolds especially, just not the same rhythm as you would expect with all the guys that are out, including Ryan Broyles.
Here's the punt, left footer. Hanging. Did it go too far? Yes, it did. Touch back, and let's go to New York. Let's touch back with Matt Weiner in New York City. Matt? Okay, Matt. So it's first down from the 20-yard line. They were oh so close as to getting that, but neither punter. I guess we have such a variance in the wind. It's like it is swirling, and neither punter has been able to nail it inside the 10-yard line, let alone the 5. That pass is tipped, and I'll tell you, that's a smart play by Proctor. And people might say, you know, hey, you got there a little soon. No, sir. The ball was tipped, and that receiver no longer, you have to guarantee that, you know, that he is pristine, that you can't touch him. You can do whatever you want to him.
Good recognition by Austin English.
English got a hand on it. Yep. He continues to give Watkins what for on that line of scrimmage. A couple of Canadians going after each other. Far sideline. Got a man, and the ball tipped at the last minute by Brian Jackson.
What a game Jackson is having.
I'm telling you, Geddes was waiting, thinking, I'm gonna score a touchdown.
Yeah.
Watch this. I am gonna score a touchdown, and I mean at the last moment.
Well, and nice job by Jackson. A lot of times you get caught. You know, he was looking back into the quarterback. Sometimes you get caught, but he runs, and what was the thing that Brent Venables said? He has good range at 6'1". He can really stride out, close the distance there. Longer arms for a corner than you'd expect. Nice job.
Well, dumps this one over the middle. Ball is tipped and intercepted by Oklahoma. That's Keenan Clayton. Points out a block, and his teammate doesn't see the man, and he's got to take it down to the 12-yard line. He was pointing like a return man. Take him out. And the defender cut in front. And now there's a flag down at the 15. It's the first turnover against Baylor today.
Well, and Ryan Reynolds made a great play. He was the linebacker in coverage who reached in and broke up the pass that sent the ball up for his linebacker mate Clayton to intercept it.
After the play had ended, personal foul. Oklahoma number 93. 15-yard penalty. Oklahoma keeps the ball. First down.
Well, that's a huge penalty against Gerald McCoy. His offensive mates have been struggling. Reynolds, really good job. He's working on the running back that time, Jared Salubi. Saw him, recognized it.
You see, pointing.
Yeah,
his defensive
Brian
teammate
Jackson missed it. Yeah.
Brian didn't see who he was pointing.
Blocked the wrong guy, Brian.
Well, it would have gone for naught anyway, would it not? First down from the 28. Big opening. Trying to get outside. Murray has 5, has 10. Counted off at about 15 yards as he takes it just inside the 15-yard line.
You know, here's a young man in DeMarco Murray who's had so many injuries. He burst on the scene. Everybody was so excited about his knee, hamstring. Now it seems to be getting in a little bit of groove just in time for this
Hurry
season.
up again, and they take it off the right side and then stumbles as DeMarco cuts it back to his left and takes it to around the 7. Brian Reynolds was the man trying to block on the play. Did he trip over him? Okay, it's what I thought. Quick pace again. Murray gets the handoff, and he's going to be knocked down for no gain on the play. I think that was Scotton, yeah, number 96, who got him by the ankle.
Well, and this is where Oklahoma seems to, and there is a Oklahoma Sooner down. That looks like number 74, Brian Simmons, yeah.
Yep.
Simmons at left guard. They had Stephen Good in there before.
Stephen just came back in. He's a sophomore from Paris, Texas.
And 4.6 yards. It's been tough going. They're looking for consistency with this offensive line. They feel like they have the ability, but just down in and down out. Kevin Wilson and Bob Stoops been talking a lot when we met with them yesterday in their offices about trying to get some consistency with this group. They feel like they have the ability, especially Trent Williams, the senior left tackle, but just down in and down out. They haven't been able to figure out the technique and their recognition on every single play, and the running game has shown that.
So Stephen Good back in the ball game. 6'6", 291 pounds, a sophomore. 3rd down and 5. Bradford, ball knocked down at the line of scrimmage. And let's see, that is Pavelic who got a hand up. Let's check, Big E, the number of tackles that he has.
And Pavelic is the guy that Art Briles says just has a feel for the game. That time he came on the rush. He read the eyes of the quarterback and did a perfect job. And here Oklahoma is again.
Jimmy Stevens going to try this time a 25-yard field goal. Perfect. Let's take a timeout. 4:47 left in the 3rd. 20-7 OU.
Numbers are down this year. You have to start adding all that stuff in. You know, when you look at those numbers, you have to add all that stuff in. Those little mistakes cost you. And Gerald McCoy, I think, backed up that offense and didn't allow them to get into the end zone.
Well, and that's not a little mistake, and it happens on a senior. Kickoff return, 1 tackle broken. Now he's going to be stopped at the 34. So let's go back to New York and check in with Matt Weiner. Matt? Well, I'll tell you something. I am a little surprised. I thought that Oregon would have more trouble because they finally had left Autzen Stadium, which is an unbelievable home advantage. But there they are in Los Angeles today and wreaking havoc on the Bruins.
You got to say, from the beginning to this part of the season, most improved team in the country by far.
Kendall Wright. They got it to him on the sweep, and Oklahoma with that speed on defense says, not in our backyard. It's not going to happen. Loss of 1 on the play. Tackle made by Travis Lewis. Sophomore out of San Antonio, Robert E. Lee.
And as this game wears on, 20-7, tight ball game. This defensive line for Oklahoma, we noticed on film the other day, they don't have a lot of depth.
They've only played 5 today.
Yep.
They played 3 defensive ends, and that's it.
That's it. 2 defensive tackles, Adrian Taylor and Gerald McCoy. They'll start to wear out a little bit. You might be able to start getting a little more punch in the run game.
That's Sampson on the catch. Proctor, one of the men who got there to make the tackle. As you can see, the rushing yardage, Oklahoma 52, Baylor only 1 this quarter.
And 3 total on the day. But I think that Art Briles, who calls the plays for Baylor, I think he's going to keep going back to that because of what we just talked about. Oklahoma's defense has been on the field quite a bit. Now you start getting into the 4th quarter when 0-yard, 2-yard gains can become 4, 5, and 6, and a tight ball game start working that in.
Pressure on the quarterback, and the ball does not get there. And when you take a look at what happened to the quarterback, Ryan Reynolds was absolutely closer to the football than the quarterback Lawrence when it was delivered.
Yeah,
wow.
And Kendall Wright wanted pass interference on Jonathan Nelson. And Jonathan Nelson, who's in there because Quentin Carter had to go out, I think got lucky here. He put that left hand right on the shoulder, and this, what a wonderful throw by Florence.
It's a clean hit.
Absolutely.
But, just as he is trying to deliver the football, he's got a shoulder pad in his midsection. Line drive kick again. Caught on the run by Franks. Franks tripped up as he goes inside the 40, and he's down to the Baylor 38-yard line. Chris Francis on the tackle, and again, line drive kicks have hurt Baylor. 47 on the punt, 43 on the return.
Well, we've seen Brian Jackson on defense, and what a huge difference Dominique Franks has made in the return game. Ryan Broyles, who is the usual punt returner, out with a shoulder blade injury. So Franks comes in and not only does it miss a beat, but maybe improves that area for Oklahoma.
You saw the Sooner outside on the left who put his palms up saying, why didn't you take it outside? We only had one guy to block there. This running play, well, Murray is going to stay on his feet inside the 30 and going to take it to the 28. Jeremy Williams finally will make the tackle on him.
And Murray, you know, he's kind of got that short legged. He's not a long strider, so I think he's faster sometimes than you think. You know, those knees don't get up very high, but his feet are always on the ground. He's very good at those quick cuts because his feet stay so close to the ground.
Bradford fakes the run. Now he delivers the ball, has it complete. And that is a long throw, and it's right on a line.
You know, that's a great point, Ron. If you're worried about whether Sam Bradford's shoulder after that AC joint is hurting, this throw right here tells you he's on the run all the way back across the field. It does look to me, though, he's favoring that right knee slightly that he hurt in the first quarter.
DeMarco Murray goes inside the 10 and inside the 5. He will have the first down. Being pushed back by Jones. Jordan Lake there to make the tackle as well.
But did you see that a little bit when Bradford rolled out? You know, he tweaked that knee on that very first drive when he made that throw and landed funny. I'm not so sure that that right knee is 100% healthy.
First and goal, Oklahoma. Ball rest at the 3-yard line. Bradford goes under center. Hands it to Murray. Tackled at the line of scrimmage. Defensively, Jason Lamb and Antonio Johnson combined on the stop. And I guarantee you, this man is looking on with more interest than you think. He wants to see his team score in the red zone. Murray can't get around the corner. He may have lost a yard.
Well, they're going to need to just put the ball in Sam Bradford's hands down inside the 10-yard line. They're having a real hard time. I know Chris Brown has snuck it in twice, but I think that was more just good running by Brown, because right now up front, Oklahoma getting no push. There's way too much penetration, and I think that they're going to just have to start relying on their Heisman Trophy winner to score once they get inside the 10 the rest of the season.
Third down and goal, and they did. They lost about 1.5 yards on that play. Bradford looks back for the signals from the bench. Waiting, delivers, and the ball is too long. It's going to be 4th down. Brandon Caleb was the man that he wanted, and Jimmy Stevens, who's been a busy guy, comes trotting on the field.
And you keep having to come out. Now this field goal puts you up by more than 2 touchdowns, so start to feel a little more comfortable. But it's just got to be so frustrating for Oklahoma and their fans every time it seems like they get down here, especially in the second half. They're not able to close it out, and as the season goes on, Texas, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, 3 points is not going to get it done.
Stevens with the field goal, and he is 3 of 3 this afternoon. 50 seconds left in the third quarter, and the Sooners continue to extend their lead, but it is by 3s rather than by 7s.
And there was so much focus on whether Sam Bradford was going to play today's game. Of course, he wouldn't have come back and played if he and his family were not comfortable that he was totally healthy. Talked to him yesterday. He said Chuck Long was on campus this week. Of course, Chuck Long used to be the offensive coordinator, had 2 AC joint sprains, so they talked about his rehab and how that was going. Looked good, but it's obvious that all of the guys that they've lost from last year graduation this year because of injury is affecting Sam.
Well, America has fallen in love with ABC's Modern Family, but there's one family member that no one expected to see. Shelley Long guest stars in an all-new Modern Family Wednesday at 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock Central. Laugh with all of America on ABC Comedy Wednesday. 50 seconds left in this third quarter, and the Sooners now on top by a number of 23-7.
Which, if Baylor can score twice, get 2 two-point conversions, they're back in this. But Oklahoma defense now starting to settle in. Great job by Ryan Reynolds the last time to cause that. Let's see how Nick Florence, the freshman, bounces back.
Moreland's kick Going to come down at the 5. This is Williams. And it will be Moreland who forced him out of bounds just across the 30-yard line. Let's check in with Matt Weiner in New York. Matt. Okay, Matt, thanks so much. 23-7, Oklahoma leading over Baylor. And if you have just turned on the ball game, you say, well, this is kind of what we expected. Well, there's more to the story than you think. Some things that both clubs need to get worked out. It's not just injuries, but a situation that both teams have been plagued by penalties, and we have talked about a lack of consistency on the part of the Oklahoma offense, and it'll be talked about again this week, not by the media, but by the coaches with their team.
And they're trying. They feel like maybe they're pressing a little too much. The ghosts of past are kind of hanging around, and what Kevin Wilson keeps telling him is the group that's on the field right now for us is pretty good. We don't have to score 50 to win with this defense.
Good look there at Adrian Taylor, the junior out of Mansfield, Texas. Tell you, he had a heck of a game against Miami last week. Pass up the near sideline, and it is tipped away at the last minute. This time it is Sam Proctor, and Oklahoma's secondary has been there to knock away a bunch of them today. Into the quarter. We'll be right back.
The slant pass has been open. You got 3 receivers to the top with Kendall right inside. Maybe a slant to him looks pretty good right there.
Oklahoma showing blitz in the middle, and here they come. And the pass incomplete, and the whistles were.
Prior to the snap, delay game, offense. Still third down.
Well, and that's a shame because they really had it. Kendall Wright did not run a slant. He was running a shallow cross route, and they were blitzing the linebackers. Art Briles had the perfect play called, and delay of game hurts him. I think Kendall Wright catches that and picks up the first down. And at 23-7, beginning of the fourth quarter, get something going, go down, get a score. All of a sudden, 2-point conversion, you're right back in it.
Yeah, here's the play. Pass over the middle, and the tackle cannot be broken. That's Justin Akers on the receiving end. And Ed Cunningham, you know, and just looking at this one today, Baylor just picks up a delay of game penalty. And we're 5 games into the season now, and those kind of mistakes, maybe in games 1 and maybe 2, can't happen this late.
Yeah, and it was interesting talking to Art Briles. He talked exactly about that when we talked to him earlier this week. You know, they come into the season, Robert Griffin's their starting quarterback. He gets hurt. They expect to have Blake Szymanski. He gets hurt in that game. Nick Florence, he's like, he said it does feel like kind of the first game of the season, but you're absolutely right. They got to clean that up.
Well, the punt does not go out of bounds, stays in play, and it'll be touchdown at the 19. Take a look at these stats through the first 45 minutes of this ball game.
Well, if you look at the total yards for Oklahoma, you think, okay, we can make that happen, but they haven't been able to finish. It's been mistake after mistake after mistake, and I think it is starting to become obvious that OU pretty darn solid this year of defense. That defensive line, even though they don't have a lot of depth, Gerald McCoy, Adrian Taylor, Austin English has been playing well. Of course, Jeremy Beal, 2 games in a row, 3 sacks. He had a sack earlier in this game, but I think that's what it's going to be for these OU fans. It's no more 50, 60 points as much as those young kids would like to see that. I don't know that they are this year.
Bradford, great protection, throws the ball complete, and then it's incomplete. With the hit, the ball comes out.
And it's just been a frustrating day for Sam Bradford, and it has shown on his face. It feels like first game back, guys running wrong routes, some drops, some missed reads by Sam, which you'd expect coming back, but it's just been a very frustrating day.
Well, this time he throws to the open side of the field, and Caleb is going to take it out around the 28-yard line. Caleb has been a breath of fresh air. Now back in the first half, Cameron Kinney did a nice job, and we saw a lot of him. Then DeJuan Miller kind of, gave us his presence with some nice work in the third quarter. Caleb now has 7 catches for 140 yards. It's Chris Brown straight ahead. Career high for Caleb. Young fellow, a junior out of Atlanta.
And Caleb, who spent a year at Fork Union Military Academy, a prep school. He's a 4-time state triple jump champion, also won the long jump 3 times. So explosive guy, and they need someone to step up with Broyles out.
It's Clapp in motion leading the play. Brown cuts it back down to around the 42-43. Pavelic on the stop for the Bears.
Well, Pavelic seems to make almost every tackle when you run inside. He's a guy who Mel Kiper, our draft analyst, has listed as the 5th best middle linebacker in the country as a senior, and leads all tacklers in FBS level of college football for career tackles.
Ball is fumbled by Bradford. Falls forward and makes his own recovery. So it's going to be 3rd down, and they still are going to have about 4 yards to pick it up.
It was interesting talking to Sam Bradford yesterday about the timing of when he was able to come back. And we said it's kind of nice that it was a week before you have to go to Dallas. And, of course, trying not to think ahead, but he started smiling. He said, yeah, it's kind of nice. And this is why. Because you're seeing the things that need to be worked out.
3rd down. Quick pass caught by DeJuan Miller. So DeJuan Miller is beginning to prove himself that he can be a good gamer. Let me tell you one thing about next week. There's nobody who is any happier that Sam is going to be back and healthy than the young man who plays quarterback at Texas. Colt McCoy and Sam have become very good friends, very respectful of each other, as that running play is got to be plenty enough for the 1st down.
Well, and when you're a competitor, you want to play against another competitor. Yeah. You want to play against the best.
Yeah, you don't want excuses of any kind. That's exactly. Well, last year, if you remember, when that game was over, the 2 guys that met quicker than anybody else, McCoy and Sam, met at or almost at midfield and gave each other a hug, shook hands, and just showing the respect they have for each other. This play, they'll turn the corner, and Brown breaks off the tackle. This is a tough run, and he'll take it down to the 30. Good 2nd and 3rd effort as Jeremy Williams finally makes the stop.
And you know that a lot of Longhorn fans are watching this ball game. Of course, Texas playing Colorado at home tonight. Don't expect Sam Bradford. And look, he's 330 yards, so it's not been an awful day for Sam Bradford.
Timeout. Baylor.
But don't expect him to play this way next week. He's going to improve drastically coming back after the 3-week playoff.
ESPN's College Football on ABC. Brought to you by Cadillac, Taco Bell, think outside the bun, and AT&T, your world delivered.
So welcome back to Norman, Oklahoma. And this one coming up next week down in Dallas, noon Eastern time on ABC. We'll talk more about it as the Sooners are ready to go and about to snap the ball from the 30-yard line. And not much doing, maybe a gain of 1. Bobby, you could show us that graphic one more time. Just the always interesting thing about the Red River rivalry. It's, the series. Texas has won 4 of the last 5. Stoops 6-4 all time against the Horns, and played in the Cotton Bowl since 1932.
And they just re-upped that contract. I know there's a lot of talk about trying to go home and home on that. I'm glad they've stayed in a neutral site.
Wide open, making the catch. That's Rattery, the tight end out of Weatherford, Oklahoma.
Rattery, a guy that they moved, wanted to get involved more because he has good speed down the field. The tight end with Jermaine Gresham out, the tight end position had become a non-entity in the passing game, and Rattery, a guy that they're trying to focus on a little bit.
Bradford looking back at the sideline with a 1st and goal. Blitz coming inside by Baylor. Ball is thrown incomplete. OU, by the way, 11 possessions today. They have had a gain of at least 10 yards on each of their last 10 drives.
But it seems like every time they get right in here, Baylor stiffens up defensively. That time, Brian Norwood, the defensive coordinator, called a blitz. Bradford had to get rid of it before he wanted to. He was a little inaccurate with his throw. Norwood, of course, came down from Penn State, had worked with Art Briles at Texas Tech, shared a lot of common values and vision of what they wanted to be.
12th play of the drive right here. And Brown on the sweep. Going to pick up a couple. Chris Francis knocked his feet out from under him.
Well, there's one thing that's very obvious. Art Briles has his team playing much better than before he got to Baylor. This is not the same Baylor squad that people have gotten used to over the last several years. They do not give up. I know it's been a tough day. They've given up a lot of yards, but they get down in here and they do not give up. Good effort by Baylor all day inside the 10.
3rd and goal. Bradford, great protection, and this one, wow, thrown just totally away. It's Jamie and Hardiman who was applying pressure, and
I believe this is a 4th time in the second half where
Jimmy Stevens
has had to come in. A little pressure that time, but right now, inside the 10-yard line, Oklahoma does not have an offense they can hang their hat on. They relied on Jermaine Gresham last year. Right now, they don't know who they are. I think they need to start getting to some crossing routes, things to try to just break some people free because just not very efficient.
Stevens just got his 4th field goal of the day. Let's take a timeout. Oklahoma extends that lead to 26-7. We'll be right back. Well, here's the Big 12 Conference this week. On Thursday night, I don't know if you got to see it or not, but Nebraska not only held on, but Bo Pelini's guys, boy, the defense just continued to play well. Finally closed the door on Missouri in Columbia. 27-12. They scored all 27 in the 4th quarter. Today, Kansas came from behind, I know, twice to win, and A&M falls to Oklahoma State. Next Saturday, we will be in Stillwater for the meeting between Missouri at Oklahoma State.
And the question will be all week for Missouri is Blaine Gabbard's health. Of course, he got rolled up in Ndamukong Suh, who I don't know that there's a better lineman in the country, and I don't know that there's been one in a long time.
I tell you, we've got some highlights of that before this game is over, we'll show you. Suh had an interception, fumble return, and caused a fumble, along with a multitude of tackles. And this kick return is going to be Gordon, who will bring it out to around the 27. Well, Tony Stewart reemerged as a championship contender. That was following his win last week in Kansas. Now the question, can Mark Martin or Jimmy Johnson answer back as the chase will head west? NASCAR Sprint Cup continues with the Pepsi 500 in California on Sunday, and that's 2:30 Eastern on ABC.
Well, Art Briles comes in 2nd year. Baylor has never beat Oklahoma. Down 26-7. He said we're going to learn a lot about our team and ourselves as individuals. Be interesting to see how they react this drive. 10 minutes left. Down 26-7.
Throws this pass complete to Sampson, and he is covered up immediately. Matt Weiner in New York. What do you got for us this time? Okay, Matt, I think the thing those guys are enjoying most is there's no snow falling there at the stadium in Iowa. That pass just thrown away to kill the clock. To kill the clock, just to get away from the defenders is what I was trying to say. Brent Venables on the sideline, the defensive coordinator.
He's slightly intense, Mr. Venables. You walk in, he tries to break your hand with his handshake. Very warm personality. Told us a great story about Jeremy Beal, guy that came to their camp, defensive end for Oklahoma. Said he came into camp, didn't look very explosive, didn't look very good. We weren't going to recruit him. His high school coach sent us a tape the next year to see if we could help him get to another school. And he walked right into Coach Stoops' office and says, "Coach, I think we need to offer this guy."
Hit as the ball is thrown, and it is caught by the receiver, and that's Ernest Smith. Ernest just keeps on having a nice ball game. As you can see that Nick Florence very slow in getting up.
And there's Nick Florence, who took a low shot that time. Jeremy Beal comes in low, finishing, and I think he may have twisted the legs, but that was a very... Boy, Ernest Smith has had a nice job. Remember that catch earlier where he got his arm underneath the ball?
You know, 5 of Baylor's last 6 drives, to show you how the OU defense has really kind of tightened it up, have in this half have been 3 plays and out. High hanger, and fair catch is made for by Franks, called for and made. 26-7 OU. Let's take a break. Back, and we want to thank MetLife for providing today's dramatic aerial coverage. MetLife has the protection you need for the most important ifs in your life. Visit MetLife.com today.
They need to go out and earn their keep and pull the Sooner Schooner around.
I thought they'd be holding the signs that eat more goat. Short yardage on that running play, a gain of about 1. And here's
the
scoring.
They've moved the ball. 488 yards for Oklahoma now, but Jimmy Stevens has tied an OU record with 4 field goals in 1 game. Of course, that's not a record that the offensive staff and offensive players want to see him getting.
Bradford. Jazz Reynolds is the man that he wanted, just a tad too long.
And one of the reasons that you see all those field goals instead of touchdowns is this man, Jermaine Gresham, still on crutches after having sutures put into some ligaments in his knee. He can't put pressure on that knee yet until that suture is completely healed. But 14 touchdowns, a lot of those. Of course, he was great in the open field too, but a lot of those right when they got downside of the 10. And we've seen their struggles throughout the season, and of course, demonstrated here today as well.
You know, he really has maintained his positive attitude. Visited with him at practice on Thursdays. He came in on those crutches. And he knows he's going to be okay. Throws that pass complete just across the 50, and that's Tennell. Adrian Tennell, senior from Irving, Texas.
Nice job by Sam Bradford. Getting a little bit of a rhythm, but there was some pressure. He just stepped out of the way and waited for Tennell to pop open there on the sidelines. That was a nice job by the quarterback.
Brown this time cuts it back into the middle inside the 40. So that's going to be a gain of, wow, almost 8 yards in the play. Antonio Johnson.
There's probably some people sitting around wondering why Sam Bradford would still be in the game. 26-7. You feel like it's in hand. I think this is one more drive because of they just haven't had rhythm. And I think you look down the road. You've got Texas next week. They got a long way to go. Oklahoma State, Texas Tech. I think they need more of this offensive rhythm. So I think this will probably be the last series if they go down and score even just a field goal.
It's Brown picking up the first down, and again Johnson. Johnson, interesting story. Linebacker, defensive end, strong safety, a good enough athlete that they had to wind up settling rather than a defensive end. They had to move him to linebacker.
Yeah, they can still move him around, put his hand on the ground, and this is a pretty good group. Antonio Johnson, of course, we've seen Pavelic, who's just great, and Antonio Jones, good group of linebackers for Baylor.
Well, this is Murray, and DeMarco unable to completely turn the corner. Guess who? Antonio again, who is amping up that number very quickly as far as the number of stops in the ball game. That's 3 in a row for him.
Yeah, not the biggest guy in the world. 6 foot, 210 pounds. The biggest guy in the world's number 11, Phil Taylor, at 6'4", 355 pounds.
Murray lost the football, got back on it, and boy, he had to pay for it as he got whacked by Hicks coming after the football.
Well, it's, you know, it was interesting talking to Bob Stoops about how they just have to get better because the margin of error, he just never had that. He just down on his hip. And
it's a good thing that big offensive tackle was there because he was able to bounce the ball off his left cheek, and it came right back to him. Otherwise, he might have lost it. Now, did he catch it? Yes, he did. Dewan Miller. Hey, he is really starting to show himself.
You know, it's interesting. You were talking about how Dewan hadn't really been able to show himself in practice, and that was the reason he hadn't been getting in. They've been expecting so much from him. Little things like this can start to give confidence. He had his best week of practice last week with Ryan Broyles out. He stepped up, goes back and has another great week. Who knows? They may have found a guy who could be the next good one here at Oklahoma at receiver.
I'll tell you what, he's all airport now. I mean, he's at 6'4". He looks really good. Straight ahead with the handoff, and it's DeMarco Murray. Johnson with another tackle. And Oklahoma's doing just what the doctor would have ordered, and that is taking time off the clock and trying to get it down into the end zone. 91st snap by Oklahoma today. 91st.
That's what a hurry up will do for you.
Murray, big opening at the 10, at the 5. First and goal, Oklahoma. Jordan Lake saved a touchdown.
Well, and again, going back to Sam Bradford being in the ball game, I can understand why. You know, he's healthy. You got him back. That's what Bob Stoops said at the start. We're going to go just like nothing ever happened because he is healthy. I think that's the absolute key. Has not been his most accurate, but I think a lot of that has to do with protection and young receivers today.
Well, this time a hit in the backfield. He will just get back to the line of scrimmage. Submarining on the play was Jordan Lake.
And here is where I think Kevin Wilson, I think they're going to keep pounding it, and I can understand why, but boy, they really need to get this part of their offense figured out.
Murray hit at the line of scrimmage, and that's big number 90. Nicholas Jean-Baptiste.
Yeah, the Boo Bird's coming back, but I can understand. Look, continue to run the clock. Eat it away, 26-7. And he's got to call the game. Kevin Wilson has got to call the game with who they are, which is we've got a good defense. They can win games for us. We don't want to turn it over. But they really have shown their struggles here inside the 10 today.
Third down and goal. Bradford over the middle. Touchdown to Nell.
Was that Bula Bula from Yale, or
yeah,
was
that was Bula Bula that time? Extra point up and through, and the new score on the board. Everybody's going to look who didn't watch this game today, 33-7, and say, well, that's about what I expected them to do. You know, they blew Baylor out. They didn't blow Baylor out.
No.
I mean, they just did. Baylor hit them back in the mouth several times in this ball game.
Here's Tennell at the bottom of the screen. Good job running, and this is what they're going to need to do, is get guys running back of the end zone and maybe start to filter in something where another guy's crossing in front of Tennell. So kind of layer that there's no depth. There's no depth once you get into the inside the 10. You can't run deep routes to run people off. So today for Sam Bradford, coming back from that shoulder, 10 of 14 on short to his left, 8 of 16. Not a lot of long throws. I don't think that's a function of his shoulder, though.
I think it's a function of the wide receiver.
Yes, they don't feel like, they don't have a guy like Joaquin Iglesias, Manuel Johnson, of course, Ryan Broyles is not here. I think this is more of a function of trying to get some of these young guys.
Or Jermaine, for that matter.
Yeah.
You know, how many times did you saw him vertically? He stretched the field.
Yeah, they're just missing that. So I don't think that that's a function of his shoulder. I think it's totally healthy. I think that's more a function of the youth that they're dealing with at the receiver spot.
Well, this is going to be taken at the 5 by Williams. And Terrence going to be collared at the 22-yard line. Well, this Thursday at 8 o'clock, 7 Central, the Thursday night event is ABC's Flash Forward. The entire world saw a vision of the future, and it's changing everything. All new on Thursday, 8 o'clock, 7 Central, on ABC.
Now for Baylor. 3 wins. They need 6 to become bowl eligible the first time since 1994.
Szymanski into the game at quarterback. He's had a shoulder problem, didn't start today. He's a senior out of Wichita, played at Rider High School. 6'4", 210.
He was the starter here at Baylor. Guy Morris's last season as the head coach, 2007.
Salubi, loss of a couple on the play as OU got penetration. Beal making the tackle, also Travis Lewis.
Well, and Blake Szymanski, who suffered a bruised shoulder against Northwestern State back late September when Robert Griffin hurt his knee. Szymanski came in, took a shot. That's why Nick Florence has started the last 2. But for Art Briles and his staff, a lot like Oklahoma, still trying to kind of figure out who they are with all of these injuries.
Salubi going to take it back to the original line of scrimmage and then gain a couple. Let's take a look at our Pacific Life game summary.
Well, we'll compare the 2 quarterbacks. Nick Florence, another good game. That interception was a nice play by Ryan Reynolds, not exactly his fault. But for Sam Bradford, 389 yards, but only 1 touchdown right there at the very end to Adrian Tennell. So 26 of 48. Not exactly the percentage you expect, but huge numbers. Just you could tell he wasn't very satisfied.
Did he hold on? Yes, that is Geddes. Never did get a quick signal that he had held on to the football. We've had so many today that the ball has come loose after hitting the ground or being hit by the defender.
Well, and this time Brian Jackson gets caught peeking. Remember, we saw him earlier peek back into the backfield and not get caught. But this time Geddes, who was the first ever high school athlete in the state of California to win 3 straight 400-meter titles, you don't want to lose sight of that guy.
They just roughed the passer, so they're going to tack that on, and that's the reason that another 15 yards is going on the play. So all of a sudden, Beal is the man who was flagged. Repeating what Ed said. And Baylor sets up shop at a first down at the Oklahoma 20-yard line. Szymanski goes for the end zone. Ball is tipped up and is intercepted, and that's, beg your pardon, number Brian Jackson. Did he intercept it in bounds? I think he did, yes.
Ball's overthrown. Right, tries to make the play.
Do you see that? He tipped it, then it hit the Baylor receiver in the head, and then came back to the man who did the intercepting. It's Brian Jackson.
And that passes for a Brent Venables smile, by the way, that we saw a moment ago.
He had a pretty stern look
yes,
there until he realized that they had it. And Landry Jones into the ball game at quarterback. So you can draw the line and Sam Bradford. Flag comes down. That's going to be holding against Oklahoma. Jonathan Miller had come into game at tailback.
And that's Bob Stoops, former defensive back himself at Iowa, talking to Brian Jackson about, I promise you, it was when he was peeking back into the backfield on that long throw. Okay, congratulations, you made the interception, but come on, you got to play a little better technique. Know who your opponent is. If that's a 400-meter champ, you got to chase him.
Oklahoma in a hurry coming back to the line of scrimmage, and Baylor had to scramble to set up defensively. Miller. Jonathan Miller, fresh legs, spinning, and takes it back out to pick up the 10 yards they lost on the holding call. And the numbers on Bradford, I told you would draw a line, 26 of 48, 389, and he had 1 touchdown.
And it's going to be a long week, and you know, he was really running with the second team this week because they weren't sure if he was going to be healthy. So now you go into a week where he's going to take command of that huddle. He's such a good leader. He raises everybody up around him. I think that there's going to be drastic improvement and between this week and next when he goes to Dallas to play Texas.
Tennell. And the reverse is going to go for a first down plus about 8.
And I tell you, going forward in the Big 12 South, everyone wants to say, oh, Oklahoma, woe is them. They have 2 losses. Well, they're still right in the middle of this. They still have the entire Big 12 season. So going forward in the Big 12 South, some key games, of course, next week in Dallas, Oklahoma, Texas. And then Texas has to go to Oklahoma State, which is always a very tough trip. Texas Tech and Oklahoma State. Oklahoma, Texas Tech, of course, remember what happened last year against the Red Raiders, and then finally Oklahoma State, Oklahoma. So,
well, plus fact, Texas has to go to Missouri. And who says it's going to be raining and a horrible night, and Gabbert might have a different kind of performance.
And I think that it was funny talking to Bob Stoops and his staff yesterday. Everybody, because the expectation level is really just, it's unbearable how high it can be here at Oklahoma sometimes, that everyone thinks, oh, you don't make it to the national championship game, it's going to be a disappointing season. Well, they go and win the Big 12. That'll be 4 years in a row that they've won the Big 12. And it's a long way away. I mean, right now, Texas, I think you have to say, is the clear favorite going forward. But they still have a ton to play for. And you get Sam Bradford back. You get that energy boost. Who knows?
Well, Sam gave him a surge today. I don't think there's any question about that. They take a knee, and that should be the final play of the ball game as Landry Jones goes down on one knee. And that is obviously the favorite formation of any coach and any team, and that is the victory formation when you take the knee. So Bob Stoops continues his dominance over the Baylor Bears. Baylor is still 0-4. That is what, 0 for 17 now against the Oklahoma Sooners. It's 9 in a row here in Norman that the Sooners have won, and 8 in a row that they have won down in Waco.
That's
so here are the updated standings in the Big 12 South. Texas yet to play. They play their game against Colorado, and that one begins I guess very shortly, just after 6 o'clock Central Time. Oklahoma State is 4-1 with that victory over A&M today. OU at 3-2. Baylor falls to 3-2 overall. A&M at 3-2. Texas Tech at 3-2.
And you start talking, I think, Ron, about the Big 12 South. Des Bryant suspended. We don't know when he's going to come back, so that affects Oklahoma State. Jermaine Gresham's out, and it's almost at Oklahoma. Ryan Burroughs said it's almost like Texas has been sitting there quietly, waiting for everybody. They played kind of not a really big non-conference schedule, but they haven't been in the news like everybody else, kind of lying in the weeds a little bit.
Yeah, and Mac Brown is the first person to have said this year, he called Colt McCoy aside, and he said, hey, start having fun. That's what you did last year. That's how we breezed through a very tough schedule, and they didn't breeze through it. They lost, obviously, the game out on the South Plain at Lubbock. But then also he said, admittedly so, until last week, he said, we finally are establishing a personality. But he continues to say we're a work in progress because Texas is still running back by committee. They don't have that dominant running back like OU can have 2.
And for Oklahoma, you talked about Colt McCoy pressing and having some fun. You kind of feel Oklahoma doing that a little bit offensively. We take a look at the stats from today's game. The numbers are huge, 586 yards. But how many times did we see Oklahoma go down the field and get inside? And Jimmy Stevens, the kicker, had a great game. But you don't want to set the record for most field goals in a game, which he tied today when you're getting ready to go down to Dallas and play Texas, because 3 points 4 times may not win it in that ball game.
Well, let's take a look at Sam Bradford, who finally, after 3 weeks, was allowed to come back. And this is a second series, and he tweaks a knee. So all of a sudden, we thought, oh, my goodness, don't tell me he's going to have to go back on the shelf. But as you can see right here, he does not go back on the shelf.
And DeJuan Miller, a young man that they've been waiting for to come along, started to look pretty good. Rattery, a tight end that they're trying to get back into the mix because they lose Jermaine Gresham. Adrian Tennell, a guy who they've kind of been waiting for a long time. He suffered a bad knee injury. And for Sam Bradford, a little bit of a difficult day. And I think those young people are going to take those down to Dallas to root on Oklahoma against Texas.
His mama, can we take them home? No. You know, another interesting thing about what happened today, although the offensive coaches have got, they will tell you, a lot to work on. Oklahoma ran 99 plays today. Folks, that's almost a half a game more as far as what the average is. Normally, if you run 60 to 65, you've had an outstanding day, but 99 is simply incredible. And until about the fourth quarter, it was Baylor who had dominated time of possession.
And when you look at the hurry-up offense, and it's so hard to look at Oklahoma and what they do, because a lot of times they'll get like a 12, 13-yard gain. They'll run right up to the line of scrimmage, and they'll go right away. Then they'll do that, and then they'll back out. And the defense the entire time is wondering, when are they going to snap it? So add in the number of plays you've got to chase guys around the field, but you're also always on your heels not knowing when they're going to snap it. Is it going to be right away or they're going to wait? Very difficult. But they still have not found that rhythm. Kevin Wilson, give him a lot of credit. He's been taking a lot of heat about being conservative last week against Miami. They haven't found the guys that they need out on the edges. Their offensive line's been a little inconsistent, but huge numbers because they get to run 99 plays a game.
Well, look at this beautiful shot right here. Hey, everybody's leaving. Maybe we should too. Matt Wider in New York, let's check with you. Okay, Matt, thanks so much. Once again, our final score, Oklahoma wins it 33-7. A very stubborn effort by the Baylor Bears. Tune in tonight for Saturday Night Football on ABC. It's Iowa versus Michigan at 8 p.m. Eastern.